The heroes' party continued their quiet progress through the frozen paths, their well-maintained formation helping them conquer the challenging terrain. "So there's the Guardian," thought Khan as he sensed the soul of the enemy hiding in the shadows. Khan, in his role as Atrus, remained vigilant, sensing the presence of the Guardian that pursued them from the shadows. The abilities like Hunter's Domain still granted him some range in his passive skills, allowing him to keep track of the enemy's soul signature. Swoon. Even as a semi-saint, his passive skills were hardly limited and some abilities still worked perfectly even with the reduced range. Swoom. With a swift movement akin to a shadow, the Guardian disappeared from Khan's senses, slipping deeper into the obscurity of the surroundings. The pursuit continued, but Khan's awareness of the enemy's movements remained a step ahead, and in just a few minutes the surrounding including the sky started to change. In a matter of minutes, the landscape underwent a dramatic transformation. The light that had illuminated the sky dimmed, replaced by an eerie and oppressive purple fog that rolled in from all directions, enveloping the party. The environment changed drastically, casting an unsettling atmosphere over the group as their surroundings took on an otherworldly appearance. The party members reacted to the encroaching purple fog that was seeping into their protective barrier. "My snowstorm can't repel this fog," Zavalise exclaimed in frustration. Atrus couldn't help but make a snide comment. "TCH. Great. Another useless teammate." Zavalise retorted, "Hey, if you're so good, why don't you try?" However, his retort was met with a punch to the face from Atrus. Zavalise was clearly taken aback. "This bastard," he grumbled, though he was eventually calmed down by the intervention of the others. "One day, I will make him pay for this humiliation." Zavalise muttered under his breath. "You're right. Why does he get to act so brazenly? He's not even stronger than you as a saint. You don't have to tolerate such disrespect." Unexpectedly, an eerie voice resounded in Zavali's mind. It was as if his thoughts were being echoed back to him. In reality, the purple fog and the punch from Atrus were nothing but illusions. These illusions, however, were causing Zavalise to experience scenarios in which he felt belittled or humiliated by Atrus. "Humph. Just wait until I burn Atrus to ashes. That day, my vengeance shall be complete," declared Speaky, the fire summoner mage, his eyes flashing with determination. "Man, I just want to go home and eat my mother's cooking. I don't care about this conclave of heroes and all this bullshit. Let's just get this over with as soon as we can," grumbled Borat, the lionkin with a mane made of green hair. "Svana, I loved you." Pakawar's voice wavered as he spoke, lost in memories of a past love. "That damn bird Vikat is finally dead. That bastard once made fun of my shiny scales. That's what you get for messing with me. Ha ha." Rolkan chuckled, the basilisk descendant mage clearly enjoying the comeuppance of his supposed comrade. Each of them seemed lost in their own thoughts, speaking their inner monologues as if the outside world and the people around them had faded away. Inadvertently, they were isolated by their own musings, unable to hear the words uttered by others. In the present moment, an eerie sense of detachment had settled over the group, where feelings of hatred and anger seemed to hold sway. The party members were caught in a peculiar limbo, each experiencing their own inner visions and emotions as if they were the reality. "Kid, you noticed it?" Rathnar's voice sounded in Khan's mind. "Yeah, this guy is really cunning. I initially thought he might employ some sort of illusion skill to manipulate everyone's perception, but his method is far more sophisticated." Khan responded. "He's using the entire environment as a grand illusion formation, weaving hints and visuals into the very fabric of the trees and stones. These objects and their colors are triggering specific emotions and responses in our minds," Rathnar explained. "Agreed. The marshland and poisonous gas are just distractions. This guardian manipulates the chaos element to exploit our unpleasant memories, compelling us to act in certain ways he desires. He can provoke anxiety, rage, suspicion, or any other emotions he wishes, like puppeteering characters in a twisted play. And in this cruel game, the puppets are real living beings, with their deaths being permanent. Khan summarized with a disturbing sense of the Guardian's twisted strategy. "What a sadistic guy. I like it," said Khan with admiration. The Chimera continued its manipulative assault on the minds of the hero's party, adopting various forms to sow discord and paranoia among them. It skillfully incited skirmishes and fueled existing tensions, exploiting the emotional vulnerabilities of each member. In Zavali's vision, the Chimera targeted his fear of inadequacy, using his ice element to demonstrate his vulnerability. The Chimera orchestrated a scenario where Zavali's powers faltered, leaving him defenseless and ultimately leading to his demise. For Maximus, the Chimera delved into his deepest fears. It transported him back to his previous world, where he relived his final battle. Despite his valiant efforts, the future it portrayed was grim. A kingdom in flames, people impaled on poles, and the stench of burning corpses. As the illusions played out, the hero's party struggled against their inner demons and fears, each facing a personalized nightmare. "This is amazing. I can feel the chaos element rising in this domain," thought the Chimera, whose existence was still unknown to others. The Chimera reveled in the chaos it had orchestrated, pushing the party members to their breaking points. Maximus was ensnared by the illusion, transported back to his original kingdom, where haunting memories took over his senses. His heart raced as he faced his grandfather, a pivotal figure from his past, who had shaped his sense of duty and honor. In the illusion, Maximus found himself replaying a heart-wrenching loop. He attempted to avert the kingdom's downfall, tirelessly striving to save it from its tragic fate. In one version, he resorted to drastic measures, even assassinating the nobles and seizing the throne in a desperate bid to secure victory. But it was already late, since, with the figureheads of the forces gone, and the internal corruption with the military officers as well as court of ministers already causing mayhem, vying for power and authority. Instead of making it work, the soldiers who served different lords and noble houses didn't unite. Rather, they either fled from the kingdom or surrendered willingly. Maximus did his best efforts to circumvent the situation and tried to save his kingdom, yet time and again his efforts proved futile. The cycle repeated, the kingdom's demise echoing relentlessly, and the weight of responsibility bore down on him, exacerbating his inner turmoil. In the throes of his PTSD, his grandfather's presence became overwhelming. The figure who had once guided him now taunted him, his words twisting into cruel and disheartening advice. The illusion manipulated his vulnerabilities, pushing him towards the brink of despair. "Why do you fight?" his grandfather's voice echoed, a sinister whisper in the depths of his mind. "You're burdened by the weak. It's time to be selfish, to think only of yourself." The illusion's influence tightened its grip on Maximus, his emotions entangled in a web of confusion and pain. But as the cycle of torment persisted, a moment of clarity emerged. A spark of defiance that blazed within him. Fueled by determination, he seized his opportunity. With a resolve that pierced through the illusion's veil, Maximus confronted his grandfather. In a climactic gesture, he drew his weapon, a symbol of his unwavering strength, and struck a final blow. Stab! He stabbed his grandfather's chest with bare hands and pulled his heart out. In that moment, Maximus reclaimed his agency, breaking free from the chains of his past. The echoes of his grandfather's influence faded, leaving behind a renewed sense of purpose and determination. As the illusion crumbled and the menacing figure began to transform into the grotesque chimera, Maximus stood his ground. The monster expressed its astonishment at his escape, surprised that someone had managed to break free so early from its psychological torment. "How is this possible?" it bellowed in surprise. In the face of the chimera's confusion, Maximus's resolve burned brighter. He had seen through the illusion's twisted machinations and regained his inner strength. With unwavering determination, he confronted the monster, his voice infused with valor and resilience. "This is a sick joke. I can't believe I fell for it," Maximus declared, his words cutting through the air like a blade. "But thanks to you, My resolve as a hero is even stronger than before. As the Chimera's transformation continued, its monstrous form taking shape, Maximus's voice rang out with a renewed purpose. He refused to be broken by the illusions, drawing strength from his own memories and beliefs. How? No one has escaped me this early before. The Chimera marveled, its surprise evident. Maximus's response was resolute, a testament to his unyielding spirit. You made one big mistake, he stated firmly, locking eyes with the monstrous creature before him. Even in the darkest of times, even in the face of imminent death, Maximus proclaimed, his voice carrying the weight of his convictions. My grandfather would never give up on hope. Struggling against the insidious mind games of the Guardian, Maximus found himself ensnared within his own memories, confronting his deepest regrets and failures. The Guardian's power aimed to exploit the chinks in his mental armor, dredging up moments of vulnerability and regret to sow chaos within his mind. Yet, even amidst the overwhelming flood of emotions, Maximus managed to break free from the cycle of despair. It was a memory of immense significance that provided him the key to escape the clutches of his own mind. The Guardian had manipulated his emotions, focusing on the failure he felt when he was unable to protect his homeland despite sacrificing himself. However, the true power to dispel the illusions lay in his memories of his grandfather. Maximus' resilience and strength of character were deeply rooted in the teachings of his grandfather. The values and lessons imparted by his elder had shaped him into the honorable and virtuous man he was today. When faced with the Guardian's attempts to manipulate his emotions and exploit his vulnerabilities, it was the memory of his grandfather's teachings that ultimately became his anchor, guiding him through the tumultuous storm of illusions. Maximus' realization that his memories and the wisdom of his grandfather held the key to breaking the nightmare showcased the profound impact of mentorship and familial bonds on an individual's development. His ability to emerge stronger from the ordeal also highlighted his capacity to turn adversity into an opportunity for growth. By confronting his past, both its triumphs and regrets, Maximus harnessed the strength to overcome the illusionist Guardian's assault on his psyche. This triumph was a testament to his resilience, inner strength, and the enduring power of the values he had inherited and internalized from his grandfather over time. Meanwhile, at the same time, just like the others, Khan was also brought into a nightmarish world where he faced his fears and shortcomings. Khan now stood in his old apartment in his previous life, the metaphorical cage he had trapped himself in his previous life. In this nightmarish realm, Khan was forced to confront the isolation and loneliness he had experienced in his previous life on Earth. The apartment that had once provided him solace now turned into a symbolic representation of his self-imposed cage, a reflection of the emotional walls he had built around himself. Being the antisocial person Khan as Elric was on Earth after checking out of his office, he always directly returned to this fortress of solitude instead of mingling with his colleagues or creating any friends in the outside world. The peace and quiet were so addictive to him that he would rather stay cooped up in his apartment for months than have a single human interaction. And now, this enemy had brought him inside that comfort zone, which was also one of the factors for his lonely and pathetic life on Earth. The enemy had exploited Khan's past insecurities and choices to create this mental landscape, drawing him into the very place where he had hidden from the world. Whoosh! At the same time, a slim man with brown hair and blue eyes materialized out of nothingness. It was a confrontation with the consequences of his actions, as well as an exploration of the fears and regrets that had influenced his decisions. So the past Khan, known as Elric, had also materialized in this place. Remember this place? Remember how it felt being left alone? You had no one to worry about. You had no one who expected anything from you. Spoke the manifested Elric, his words dripping with a mix of nostalgia and bitterness. All you used to do here was watch animes, read mangas and manhwas as soon as it was available. You cared more about the next chapter than other important things in life. It was a place without worries and any form of pressure. This was a blissful paradise. He continued, his tone carrying a hint of wistfulness. Khan stood there, immersed in the illusion of his past life's solitude. The apartment felt eerily familiar, the sights and sounds evoking memories he had buried deep within. The conflict within him intensified as he was confronted with the allure of the uncomplicated existence he once sought. But as the words of his manifested past echoed in his mind, Khan's eyes began to reflect a different understanding. While the cocoon of isolation had offered him refuge, it had also stunted his personal growth, rendering him emotionally distant and detached from the world around him. He looked around at the familiar surroundings, once comforting, now suffocating. The illusion was breaking, revealing the limitations of a life without connections, challenges, and aspirations. The realization dawned upon him that the paradise of solitude he had created was a gilded cage, isolating him from the richness of life itself. And the next moment, "What the hell are you talking about?" Khan's voice was sharp as he stared at his old self, his former life projected in front of him. "I watched so many animes for decades that I could no longer remember their plots or characters despite my eidetic memory. My mind jumbled them all together and erased the excitement and respect for them," he said angrily. He continued, his tone reflective. "I read so many mangas that I sought more and more of them just to fill my dopamine quota instead of doing real work or making myself better. I spent so much time on reading manhwas and manhuas that at one point, I stopped appreciating them. I became a cynic who left hurtful reviews in the name of constructive criticism, thinking I could write better ones myself, solely because I read other people's works," confessed Khan with a hint of regret. "I became a spiteful person who acted like I was a genius, believing I could create novels or anime better than those who spent hours working, researching, and writing. I belittled their efforts, dismissing their sacrifices for their health and social lives, all for the sake of indulging my own arrogance," spoke Khan as a touch of remorse entered his voice as he continued to recount his past. The room was heavy with the weight of realization as Khan confronted the darker aspects of his past life. "Do you think it's something I should feel proud of? Knowing nothing about what happens behind the curtain, yet feeling entitled for reading and enjoying other people's work?" Khan's voice held a mix of frustration and self-questioning as he locked eyes with the projection of his past self. It was simply an addiction, much like those who indulged in drugs or surrendered to their carnal desires. It was the easy way out, a hypocritical shield to mask my inadequacy and lack of real achievements in life. Acting like a bastard on the internet, believing I was somehow superior or had an intellectual or moral high ground, was nothing to be proud of, continued Khan, his voice holding a touch of disappointment. "Instead of falling into that pit, I should have embraced discipline, committed to my goals, and strived to better myself each day, becoming a decent human being and contributing positively to the world, my communities, and the people close to me. That's the way I should have lived." With growing intensity, he berated his former self. The room seemed to vibrate with Khan's self-reflection, a powerful confrontation with his own past shortcomings. "It took me committing suicide and undergoing intense training in this life to overcome those failures and the guilt that haunted me. I died countless painful deaths, each one a stark reminder of my flaws. I was supposed to live as a real man, not some deluded coward who blamed his childhood trauma and circumstances for the loneliness and misery I endured." His voice grew more resolute, a fervent admission. "I had every opportunity to turn my life around, to find happiness. Yet, I used my past as an excuse for my failures, rather than seizing the present moment to shape a better future." His self-reflection remained unflinching. "And now, you're saying that I should value this rabbit hole of isolation I dug for myself, where I judged the world through a screen, as something peaceful?" His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of realization and regret. "The current me is completely liberated of my past life," he declared sternly. Then Elric responded to Khan's thoughts with a challenging tone. "Do you believe you're superior now that you've achieved the strength you so desperately sought? Do you think you're finally courageous enough to break free from the mindset and limitations of your past?" asked Elric dauntingly. "Then why not prove it?" he continued, taunting Khan. In an instant, Elric's form morphed into that of Atrus, The only difference was the replacement of the usual glowing blue eyes with pitch-black ones. Swoosh! However, Khan's reaction was swift. He hurled a small orb towards the duplicate Atrus. Grasp! With rapid reflexes, the other Atrus seized the orb without hesitation. Not taken by this surprise attack. But before he could comprehend the situation, boom! The orb detonated, releasing a cloud of green smoke. Cough! Cough! Choking and struggling, the imposter Atrus collapsed to the ground, weakened by the gas. His desperate coughs filled the air as he gasped for breath. Breathe in. That's fear. Spoke Khan in a domineering voice. Swing. The fake Atrus stood up and attacked Khan with a powerful swing. Bang! But Khan blocked it effortlessly with his left arm. You're not brave. The camera's focus shifted to Khan, who revealed a stoic and tyrannical expression as he declared, Men are brave. After the fake Atrus failed to land a surprise attack on Khan, the latter blocked it and declared that the opponent wasn't brave enough. What did those words mean? Those who lived under the illusion that their life is messed up because of their background, their heritage, their upbringing, and how the world was unfair around them often never acknowledged the fact that even if all these things were true, there was always a way to get out of it and turn their life for better. Obviously, the negative voice in their mind often told them that things will be too hard or other people will be hurt if they tried to change and whatnot. There was always the self-talk that made people give up because the change was hard and it would cause a lot of pain in the process. However, there were very few people who embraced that hardship and pain. They were willing to endure that obstacle and suffering to become a better version of themselves. From a stoic and disciplined person's perspective, those were actually brave people. The duplicate of Khan tried to mimic the old habits and thought patterns that had brought misery to his past life, attempting to assert its similarity to Khan's previous self. But the current Khan had evolved beyond that mindset. Through his trials and tribulations, he had come to realize the true nature of bravery. Embracing change, confronting pain, and persevering through adversity to achieve genuine self-improvement. This made Khan speak the controversial but undeniable truth that he had come to realize himself at this stage of his new life. It's funny that you think you can make me relive the past using my guilt and failures to trap me in some sort of illusion, spoke Khan in a grim tone. Bang! He banged his head against the fake Atrus and made a horizontal hook, and kicked the opponent in the waist, instantly cracking his bones. RRH! Wailed the fake Atrus. And at the same time, the green gas that the fake Atrus had inhaled also started working. This was Khan's potent form of neurotoxin venom. His neurotoxic venom was so strong that the opponent could barely move other than keeping his eyes open, breathing and speaking. So you're supposed to be a chaos element user? Man, I am disappointed, Khan remarked, his tone holding a mixture of resignation and assessment. He continued, although I guess it's not entirely your fault. Maximus is an exceptional leader who understands how to nullify an enemy's advantage even before the actual confrontation begins. My approach is a bit different. I excel in rapid adaptation and counterattacks, and I tend to thrive when the fight isn't under the eyes of a large audience. This way, I can unleash my abilities without as many restrictions, and I have a broader range of skills at my disposal to dismantle opponents more efficiently, elaborated Khan. With these words, Khan conveyed his recognition of Maximus's strategic prowess while highlighting his own combat style and preference for more private battles that allow him to fully exploit his capabilities. So, this is not the real body, I presume? Khan's words held a tone of deduction as he attempted to unravel the nature of the chimera before him. Who are you? How can you tell so quickly? The imposter, appearing intrigued and somewhat startled, questioned. Well, considering the entire region is structured as a grand formation and your illusion techniques are remarkably intricate, it's only natural for someone with an affinity for both artificing and magic, like myself, to be fascinated by your skills. Khan's response was analytical and appreciative in a way. He too was genuinely fascinated by this pure talent and mastery. However, achieving the level of realism you've demonstrated and delving into the minds of others requires more than just an illusion technique. There must be a catalyst that directly permeates their psyche and a strong linchpin allowing the caster to infiltrate and manipulate the target's minds repeatedly. He continued, "Therefore, I speculate that you're somehow linked to the original caster and constitute a part of the primary body. Such a connection would be the only plausible explanation for how this formation can affect multiple targets simultaneously." Khan concluded with an astute observation. "The previous Darkness Assassin guy was also the same as you. His specialty became his demise when he faced me," Khan stated with a confident air. In response, the neutralized opponent's voice was filled with rage as he demanded, "You bastard! Are you the one who killed Zalvik?" Khan's reply was cold and matter-of-fact. "So what if I am? It's not like you will remember anything or what I tell you will be shared with the original body. You're just an extension of the caster's mind, not his real consciousness in the first place. You're not a living being. You're just a replica that contains all the memories of the original body that will cease to exist as soon as I kill you." Having discerned the truth behind the existence of this false Atrus, Khan had grasped the intricacies of this illusion technique. Unlike methods that might establish shared consciousness with the original caster, this approach employed linchpins formed from the caster's memories. These linchpins acted within the formation, simultaneously targeting various individuals' minds. Such a safeguard ensured that the original caster's consciousness remained isolated and protected. "You bastard! Don't look down on me," grumbled the false Atrus, his voice filled with indignation. Hey, watch that mouth of yours. Is that a way to talk with a fellow practitioner?" Khan berated him, though a playful smile played on his lips. "Fellow practitioner? Of what?" questioned the intruder with confusion. "Although mine doesn't use such deep and well-crafted illusion formation and can't affect multiple targets at the same time," Khan's smile took on a wicked edge. "It works perfectly on a single target," Khan stated, and in an instant, his eyes glowed yellow. Before the defeated imposter could react, he succumbed to Khan's own lucid reality. Yes, at this moment, Khan was using an illusion technique on the guy who cast an illusion on him inside an illusion formation. This was like a dream within a dream within a dream, Khan's own version of Inception. Khan delves into the depths of his own illusion technique, revealing to the enemy a poignant scene from his past. "Mother, father, don't abandon me," sobbed a young being, their appearance quite distinct and different from the norm, their voice filled with desperate plea. "I can't believe we gave birth to this monstrosity," spat out the father, his voice dripping with disgust. "This hideous thing can't be my child," the mother declared, her tone a mix of horror and disdain. "You're probably the worst thing I've laid my eyes on," sneered the father, his scorn cutting deep. "What did I do? You brought me into this world." The young being's voice wavered, carrying the weight of confusion and pain. "I look the way I do because of both of you. Your bloodlines are the reason I was born this way. So what crime have I committed just by being born?" The sorrowful being's words trembled with a mix of anger and sorrow. "How is any of this my fault?" he retorted, anguish etched into every syllable. "TCH, I hope you would just disappear." The father's words dripped with resentment. "I regret the day I gave birth to you." The mother's voice held a toxic blend of regret and repulsion. "Your entire existence is a curse to this world." The collective judgment of those around them hung heavy in the air. "You can't blame me for this. So what if I look different than everyone else? I'm not some evil monster. I have a heart and soul too. I have feelings too," cried this being, their pain and frustration palpable, their words an anguished plea for understanding and acceptance. His mother was a crossbreed, as was his father. Yet, he bore the brunt of the most undesirable physical traits from their mixed bloodlines, emerging as a being that defied any conventional categorization. "It's not me who is wrong. It's you," he declared with fiery determination, his voice tinged with righteous indignation. "If the world won't accept me for who and what I am, I will make it." His words held a resolve that burned like an unquenchable flame. "I don't need your validation. I don't want your approval of my existence. He continued, his tone growing stronger with each word. I will live and die on my own terms. I will live for my own sake and search for happiness. You no longer have any hold over me. His proclamation carried fierce independence, a declaration of liberation from the chains of others' expectations. Just die. The parents' venomous words struck like a thunderbolt, their rejection fueling the growing anger and hatred within their child. Boom! However, an unexpected event took place. The being experienced a tumultuous transformation, its form contorting and expanding as a malevolent power surged within. Its once human eyes blazed a bloodshot red, radiating an aura of unrestrained bloodlust that seemed to engulf its surroundings. Roar! A feral roar erupted, a visceral manifestation of the pent-up rage and torment it had endured. I have been wrong about it all along. It began to speak again, its voice echoing with a mix of torment and rage. My misery doesn't come from within me. It's you and the outside world that have ostracized me just because I was born different. It's you who are the cause of my sadness. He declared in a focused tone. Why should I conform to your standards? After all, it's not like you would even care whether I lived or died. Its words dripped with a bitterness born of years of isolation, proclaimed the transformed four-legged creature with mane and wings. However, the tone shifted, growing darker, more ominous. It means that I also shouldn't care whether you both lived or died. The being's voice resonated with chilling finality, its anger solidifying into an all-consuming malevolence. The smoldering anger that had long festered within him finally erupted into an all-consuming blaze. Swipe. With a vicious swipe of its clawed hand, it mercilessly maimed and eviscerated its father, the very source of its torment. Blood and gore painted the scene in a gruesome tableau. Its maw opened wide, revealing rows of serrated teeth, and in a grisly climax, it sank those teeth into its father's head, tearing it apart with a guttural growl. Then, its attention turned to the figure that had birthed it, its mother. No, don't do this. I'm your mother, she pleaded desperately. Then maybe you should have acted like one ever since I was a child. Even animals and monsters don't treat their children the way both of you have treated me since I gained consciousness. The being retorted, its voice laced with venomous scorn. I'm only returning the kindness and love you've shown me my entire life, it said coldly, and in a ferocious lunge, it pounced on its mother. What followed was a scene of unspeakable brutality, a frenzied massacre and dismemberment that left no doubt of its all-encompassing wrath. Finally, the once rampaging being began to subside, the blaze of anger transforming into an eerie calmness. The chaos element, latent within its bloodline, had awoken, triggered by the precipice of grief and madness. In the aftermath, the mangled bodies of its parents lay as grim evidence of its transformation. From this turmoil emerged two grim companions, anger and the newfound power of the chaos element, both now intertwined as the wellspring of its strength. The vision shifted once more, casting him into a reality that represented the passage of decades. And the once tormented and grateful being was now living a different life that he had never hoped, one made of triumph and fulfillment. He now stood at the pinnacle of society, respected by millions of people and holding dominion over unrivaled power. Despite his once condemned appearance, he had found profound love and forged a family, happiness contrasting starkly with the anguish of his tormented past. Boom! However, it didn't even get a moment to relish that happiness. An earth-shattering explosion rent the world asunder. Amidst the ruins, countless lifeless forms sprawled in grotesque abandon. Bewilderment mingled with fear as he surveyed the devastation, taking hesitant steps backward. Yet, horror gripped him anew as he realized that his very movements trampled the lifeless bodies of his beloved wife and children. No! His heart-wrenching cry reverberated through the chaos. Anguish painted across his contorted features as he clutched his family's lifeless forms, tears mingling with the smoke and ash that surrounded him. Step, step, step by agonizing step, A new presence emerged from the inferno, a figure equally shrouded in darkness as the vision itself. The flames danced upon his ebony hair, a long dark gray coat adorned with intricate silver motifs cascading around his form. In his grip rested a mighty greatsword, its blade coursing with liquid magma. Twin dragon heads adorned the hilt, their fiery breath an eerie reflection of the destruction that surrounded them. He spoke, his voice a low and ominous rumble, dripping with a malevolent allure. "How dare you live happily? Someone like you doesn't deserve it." In the midst of this nightmarish tableau, Khan's true human form emerged, piercing the illusion with his presence. He confronted the figure before him, his voice cutting through the darkness like a blade. The figure before him trembled, his anger and despair mingling with disbelief. Are you the one responsible for this carnage? Did you destroy everything I held dear?" Khan's gaze was unyielding, his words dripping with condemnation. "You have a vile tendency to exploit the vulnerabilities of others, using their past traumas to push them to the brink of madness. By feeding upon their suffering and then forcing your targets to kill themselves. But your reign of manipulation ends here. Your fortune has soured since the moment our paths crossed. And now, prepare yourself." His tone took on a dark and ominous edge, a wicked smile gracing his lips. He leaned in, his voice a chilling whisper, a foreboding promise. "To lose everything that gave meaning to your life." 1 hour later, in the present moment, the hero's party remained motionless and trapped within the suffocating grip of the encircling purple fog. Arg! Maximus jolted awake from the torment that had ensnared him, his breath ragged and his body slick with sweat. He had managed to wrench himself free from the nightmarish hold that had clamped down on his mind. Huff! Huff! With heavy pants, he gradually regained his composure. His eyes swept their surroundings, taking in the frozen scene. The formidable guardian of this region had ensnared them all in a mental labyrinth, exploiting their deepest fears and vulnerabilities to shatter their resolve. Amid the chilling tableau lay 2 lifeless bodies, their blood staining the frozen ground. The towering figure of Pakawar, the Naga warrior, lay sprawled with his multiple spears piercing his own body. Nearby, the head of Zavaliz, the grisly bearkin warrior, rested disturbingly close to his severed corpse, the battle axe used to commit the gruesome act still embedded in the remains of the 6th-stage saint. "I was late in breaking through that hell." Maximus sighed with a mixture of regret and frustration. He gazed upon the lifeless bodies of his fallen comrades, the casualties of their mental struggle against the Guardian's insidious skills. The Chaos Element user had honed a technique that targeted their minds, driving them to despair and pushing them to take their own lives. It was a sinister and terrifying ability, one that bypassed physical confrontation and attacked the very core of their psyche. The mastery of this technique made Chaos Element users a formidable and dreaded force in the world. However, only a select few races possessed the ability to wield this element, and among them even fewer could grasp the intricacies of the second method, the one that targeted the mind. Maximus recognized the immense danger posed by such abilities. The thought of facing an army of Chaos Element users, where some could enhance their power through killing and others could compel soldiers to commit suicide through mental manipulation, was chilling. The consequences of an entire species mastering these skills would be catastrophic, unleashing chaos and devastation on an unimaginable scale. Perhaps that's why the Demon Empire wields such overwhelming power, capable of challenging multiple empires simultaneously. Maximus mused, voicing his thoughts aloud. He was aware of the ongoing conflict with the formidable Demon Empire, a force composed of the true demon species, many of whom possessed the potent chaos element due to their unique bloodline. As the conclave of heroes drew to a close, Maximus knew that he and his fellow heroes and heroines would eventually step onto the grand stage of conflict. The outcome of the conclave held immense significance for all the empires that served the divine beings. With a determined resolve, Maximus employed his knight skills to cleanse their immediate surroundings, erecting protective barriers to shield his allies from the lingering effects of the Guardian's manipulation. Among the 10 members of their group, 4 had already succumbed to the insidious assaults in the god's domain, even though they were contending with only the third guardian out of the 6. Maximus recognized the potential danger posed by the guardian's mental manipulations. He fortified his position, ready to intervene should any of his remaining comrades be driven to madness and attempt to harm themselves. However, he understood the delicate nature of the battle raging within their minds. Interfering directly risked exacerbating the situation, potentially erasing their memories and rationality entirely. "Where is that damn guardian? I need to finish him," Maximus muttered to himself, his frustration evident in his tone. He was confronted with a crucial decision, torn between two pressing options. The first choice was to stay behind and safeguard his remaining party members, wary of the possibility that their fragile mental states could drive them to take their own lives. The second choice was to embark on a quest to locate and confront the guardian responsible for this nightmarish mental landscape, hoping to shatter the illusions that held his comrades captive. Yet, the second path was fraught with peril. Engaging the guardian could expose them to grave danger, as the foe possessed lethal abilities that could annihilate the entire hero's party. Maximus found himself ensnared in a dilemma, trapped between two unpalatable choices, each with its own dire consequences. Both paths demanded sacrifice, and as he grappled with his decision, a calm voice resonated through the air, cutting through his inner turmoil. And right when Maximus was caught in this crucial dilemma, a calm and composed voice landed on his ears. "Don't worry, I'll find him." Atreus' eyes slowly opened, his expression composed and focused. "You're awake." Maximus, relieved by his awakening, couldn't help but comment. "TCH, I thought I would be the first one to wake up." With a hint of a disappointed tone, Khan retorted. It was as if emerging from the nightmare was a competition, and he seemed almost discontent with being the second to break free from its clutches. Maximus was quick to assert his determination. "No, I'll go. It's my responsibility as the leader to handle this." His voice carried a resolute tone, his gaze unwavering. Atreus' response, however, was just as unwavering. "No, it's better that I go. My skills as a brawler make me ill-suited for protecting others. Besides..." He paused, his tone becoming more determined as he continued, "I've identified his greatest weakness." Without further ado, Khan declared his intention to depart, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. He left swiftly, aware that time was of the essence and that the safety of the party was at stake. Roar! In a dimly lit cave, the chimera's anguished cries echoed, intermingling with the sound of retching as it spewed blood onto the rocky ground. "What is this madness?" the chimera exclaimed, its voice filled with disbelief and horror. The creature's shock was palpable, a result of the countless tortures it had endured at the hands of Khan. The linchpins that he had woven into the nightmares cast upon the hero's party had turned the tables in a way the chimera had never expected. Maximus had eliminated the specific threat within his own nightmare, causing a relatively minor backlash to the chimera's skill. But Khan, in his characteristic audacity, had taken a vastly different approach. He had inflicted upon the chimera a torturous nightmare that left it teetering on the precipice of despair. Khan had cleverly turned the tables, employing the equivalent of the Uno reverse card against the chimera. The very powers that the chimera had wielded to torment others had been deftly redirected back upon itself, subjecting it to its own malevolent creations. Yet, amidst the chimera's own torment, an even more chilling revelation struck him like a bolt of lightning. "Why is there another chosen hero in the hero's party?" the chimera exclaimed, his voice a mix of astonishment and fear. The pain he experienced from the linchpin's backlash paled in comparison to the psychological anguish inflicted by the nightmare limbo. As the linchpin returned, carrying with it fragments of Khan's memories, the Guardian gained a horrifying insight. Khan wasn't just any party member, but a chosen hero in his own right, the hero of darkness. This revelation shook the Guardian's mind to its core, leaving him disoriented and overwhelmed by the implications. The very foundation of his understanding crumbled as he grappled with the idea that his tormentor was a chosen hero as well. Swoosh! In the midst of this turmoil, A swift movement at the cave's entrance caught his attention. An ominous figure had arrived, a wolfkin standing at an imposing height of 3 meters. And at that very moment, an enigmatic figure emerged at the cave's entrance. An imposing 3-meter-tall wolfkin. "You! Who are?" The Chimera Guardian began, his words cut short. Slash! Before he could regain his composure or utter another syllable, a forceful and invisible blade cleaved through him vertically, severing his form into 2 distinct halves. Thud! Thud! 2 equally chopped sides of the body dropped on the ground. The blood that sprayed on the soil turned the atmosphere inside the cave into that of death. The severed and squirming intestines gave a macabre feeling to this situation. Even as his brain stopped working and life faded into nothingness, the Chimera was in utter disbelief, not even realizing how it died. "Apologies, but I don't have the luxury for idle conversation or some grand monologue." Khan's voice echoed, his gaze icy and his demeanor relentless. Khan did not share any pleasantries with the guardian of this floor, and nor did he give the Chimera opponent to use his powers or turn into a saint like he did with the first 2 guardians. Khan had a clear motive from the moment he woke up from the nightmare limbo, and it was a matter of most urgency. "After knowing what you did in those nightmares, I can't have you revealing my true identity," spoke Khan, his voice turning grim and void of any emotions as he declared the reason why he gave such a quick death to this guardian. "Your death became imminent the moment you saw my truth." With a swift and decisive movement, Khan put an end to the Chimera's suffering. The chapter of darkness and manipulation that the guardian had orchestrated was now closed, leaving behind only the echoes of its malevolence. As he looked down at the lifeless form before him, Khan couldn't help but contemplate the similarities and differences between himself and the fallen Chimera. In a sense, the Chimera before him shared a similar life as Elric. Both had traumatic childhood and their parents played a part in it. Both had experienced pain and trauma in their pasts, shaped by their upbringing and circumstances. However, this Chimera Guardian had given in to the anger and hatred while Elric had fallen into loneliness and distanced himself from his family. Their beginning was similar in a way, but their life choices created a different path for themselves. Maybe in another reality, Chimera and Khan would have a decent conversation and maybe they'd be able to understand or even console each other. In another world, under different circumstances, perhaps Khan and the Chimera could have found common ground and shared stories of their pasts. Maybe they could have been allies or even offered solace to each other's wounded souls. But the reality of their situation had dictated a different course, one of confrontation and ultimately, the Chimera's demise. The weight of Khan's actions was palpable in the air. The somber truth remained, in a world defined by survival and conflict, the boundaries between right and wrong could blur in the face of necessity. Khan's decision to end the Chimera's life was a testament to that harsh reality. The clash with the Chimera, the battle of minds and wills, had shown him the depths of darkness that could reside within an individual. It had also affirmed his conviction to protect his identity and the truths he held close. In the grand scheme of things, Khan's actions were pragmatic, reflecting his determination to protect his own identity and keep his past hidden. System, absorb. Khan's command echoed in the air. However, the response from the system was less than satisfactory, with a tone of reluctance in its voice. Error. The system has failed to use the ability absorption divine ability on the subject in front of the host. Khan's brow furrowed as he considered the situation. He does not have a core as well. And for some reason, I still can't absorb their abilities. His mind cast back to a similar instance in the past. The last time I finished Zolvik, the Darkness Assassin Guardian, I had indeed tried to use the ability absorption divine ability, but the same message rang in my head. It's as if none of the Guardians are living beings in the first place. He pondered aloud, his voice carrying a hint of frustration. Even though I too took a glimpse into his past using his own ability, Khan's voice dropped to a contemplative tone. There was no explanation on his history or exactly what kind of life this Guardian lived. And why was he inside the god's domain in the first place? He questioned the mysteries surrounding the Guardians. As Khan muttered softly, His thoughts seemed to be spiraling with even more questions, further deepening the enigma that surrounded these entities. The more he thought about it, the more questions arose in, well, it's not my problem. All I have to do is get Maximus safely to the god's altar, and then enter the peninsula created by God of Darkness through the realm tier that's in the last region. Once I do that, I can return safely without anyone knowing my truth and then leave the Beast Empire using some sort of excuse. He spoke to himself. This was the main objective he had in mind: to help Maximus properly limit break, keep his identity hidden till then, and enter the god's domain created by the God of Darkness, so that his core wouldn't crumble to dust and he would return safely. After interrogating Zalvik, Khan had found that there were 3 realm tiers in the last region where the god's altar was situated, and among them were the realm tiers leading to the peninsulas created by God of Lighting, Goddess of Knowledge, and finally, the God of Darkness. So it was evident that Khan would have to accompany the hero's party all the way till the end, and only then would he be able to succeed. And finally, his life and identity would be at peace. As Atrus rejoined the party, he was met with a scene that he hadn't quite expected. The aftermath of the mental ordeal caused by the Guardian's skills had left his companions in a state of deep turmoil. Why am I still alive? What's the point of achieving strength if I can't be happy and content in my life? Spoke Rolakin. I am a sinner. I have brought nothing but shame and dishonor to my family and clan. Spoke Speaky, his eyes weeping. Damn! I don't want to be here. I want to be freed from the responsibilities of my family name and the clans. I just want to live away from this societal pressure and live a life of solitude. Spoke Borat in a helpless tone. I don't deserve anything. I should die, said Conan with lifeless eyes, and grabbed both his legs in embrace as he sat on the frozen floor. Their voices reflected defeated minds that they had recovered from after Khan killed the Chimera and his ability stopped working on them altogether. However, unlike Maximus and Khan, none of them had succeeded in breaking past those nightmares and overcoming their inner regrets. They were still stuck in limbo and were abruptly pulled out into the reality after Khan killed the Guardian. Hence, their minds were still in shock and hadn't been able to come to terms with the reality. Some of them hadn't even realized that they were brought back into the real world and no longer were inside the dream realm. Did you find him? Maximus inquired of Atrus, concern etching his face. Found and obliterated. Khan's response was firm, carrying an air of finality. Thanks. I find myself relying on you to solve problems when I should be leading the charge. It's quite pathetic, in my opinion. Maximus acknowledged his frustration at not being able to fulfill his role as the leader of the group. Atrus' response held a touch of understanding. It's not about fault, Maximus. Different challenges require different skills. I may excel as a weapon, but leading that weapon is your forte. Besides, this one I had to deal with personally. He spoke in a solemn tone. Why? Did he get under your skin too? Maximus' curiosity was evident, understanding that facing these guardians inevitably brought out strong emotions. Something like that. He managed to dredge up memories I'd rather forget, trying to pull me back into a version of myself I've long outgrown and are quite ashamed of at this stage of my life. Khan revealed, offering a glimpse into his motivations without revealing the full truth. I can relate. He used my family against me in those nightmares, triggering emotions I thought I had long buried. Maximus nodded in understanding. With a shared understanding of the emotional toll the encounter had taken, Khan then posed a question to Maximus. So, what do we do now about them? Let's give them time to recover psychologically. They're in no condition to travel or fight. Pressing on now would only burden both of us further. Maximus suggested, his practicality evident. Acknowledging the wisdom in the suggestion, Khan nodded, and together they set about creating a temporary camp to provide much-needed respite for their battered comrades. Shatter. A dark, crimson crystal within the castle shattered violently, allowing the heavy doors to swing open. Within the doorway emerged the silhouette of a mysterious figure, his anger palpable. These useless, pathetic fools. They're falling like dominoes before a bunch of amateurs. His voice seethed with a mixture of rage and disappointment. Centuries of preparation, and they can't even eliminate the new hero of nature? Are we doomed to remain imprisoned here forever? His words dripped with bitterness and frustration. Summoning a telecommunication artifact, he established contact with the fourth guardian. The fate of our plans rests on your shoulders now. Fail, and there will be no redemption. His words carried a sharp threat. I assure you, my lord, I will not fail. A feminine voice from the other end responded with unwavering determination. In a valley shrouded in an eerie darkness, filled with black seawater and hovering islands, a castle loomed atop one of these floating landmasses. Inside, a winged woman with silver hair and blue eyes, adorned with horns like a crown on her head and wearing revealing attire, awaited. Her voice held an alluring and cryptic tone as she addressed an unseen entity. Welcome to my domain, hero of nature. Her words dripped with a seductive charm along with an arousing appearance that would invoke the basest desires in males regardless of their species. She then proclaimed with a beguiling voice, give in to your temptations and desires. After a necessary period of rest and recovery, the hero's party of 6, comprised of Maximus, Atrus, Borat, Speaky, Conan, and Rolakin, finally emerged from the foggy grasp of the nightmares induced by the Chimera Guardian's abilities. Over the course of 2 days, they shook off the psychological weight and managed to regain their full senses. The experience had been humbling and embarrassing for the 4 members who had fallen victim to the relentless loops of nightmares. They had been psychologically exploited, their deepest fears and regrets twisted against them. But with time and support, they gradually accepted the reality of the situation and emerged stronger from the ordeal. With everyone back on their feet, the party advanced to the 4th region. Guided by Khan's abilities, they located a warp gate a short distance from the location where the Chimera had been defeated. Passing through the gate, they arrived in a realm that defied belief. In this strange and surreal world, there was no solid ground. Instead, they found themselves on small islands that floated in the air, remnants of a civilization that had long fallen. Most of these islands lay in ruin, inhospitable and abandoned. The sky above was an unsettling shade of red, dominated by swirling clouds. Unending storms raged, pushing the islands to and fro like pieces in a chaotic puzzle. The atmosphere itself seemed to be imbued with an otherworldly tension, as if the very fabric of reality was strained in this realm. Flutter, flutter, fluttering gracefully through the sky, a figure materialized before the hero's party. She exuded an air of confidence and superiority, her bat-like wings extending and retracting with each movement. My, how come a group of incompetent males came this far with such little strength? Spoke a figure as she appeared in the sky and her bat-like wings fluttered. Her alluring and voluptuous form drew immediate attention, but it was her expression that truly conveyed her feelings. With a condescending smirk, she surveyed the group of intruders before her. System, what is her species? She isn't a demonkin and the aura is familiar and yet very different. Inquired Khan the very next moment. This is a high vampire species individual. She is a rare specimen even in the beast empire of the present. Elaborated the system. No wonder she felt familiar. Thought Khan as he was on guard against this guardian of this realm. Obviously, Khan was reminded of the time when he made deals with the Vanderite clan, the leading clan of the pureblood faction in the Rocco's empire. He had met the likes of Alistair Moore Vanderike, the 7th stage saint and the leader of the pureblood faction, followed by Ismatrazel Moore Vanderike, the clan leader of the vampire clan. And finally, his once-old friend Sale Moore Vanderike. They all were the legitimate vampires and Khan was already accustomed to their aura. However, the female vampire in front of them gave off an even nobler aura and unlike others. She also had bat-like wings and horns on her head along with long ears. This physical attribute came with her higher vampire bloodline. Rumble! A deafening rumble echoed through the sky, ripping through the momentary calm. 2 colossal and ethereal eyes materialized out of the crimson expanse, piercing the heavens with their eerie presence. The sudden appearance of this unearthly spectacle caught the hero's party off guard. rendering them incapable of forming any defensive strategies before the looming threat. Before any conscious thought could take hold, an overpowering force seized control, sweeping through their minds like a merciless storm. Their bodies, once their own, now yielded to an external command, the mysterious figure's words resonating in their very being. "You're all my slaves now," she declared, her voice holding a mixture of seductive allure and undeniable authority. The heroes' party stood ensnared, their autonomy stolen away, as they became mere puppets to her bewitching power. With a commanding presence, she compelled Conan to lower himself, his body sinking to the ground. In an almost surreal scene, she took her place upon his back, her posture exuding a regal air as she settled herself comfortably. "Now, carry me like the queen I am," she pronounced, her words both a demand and a statement of her perceived status. "You there, bark." Turning her attention to Borat, she manipulated his voice into canine-like barks, emphasizing her authority over his actions. "Woof, woof." He obediently complied, expressing his subservience with each woof. "Good. All males are dogs," she remarked, her tone dripping with condescension, her words casting a sweeping judgment over the entire male gender. A chorus of agreement echoed as the heroes' party voiced their concurrence, their autonomy still held hostage by her enigmatic control. "You're all below us women," she declared with unwavering arrogance, her words a declaration of her superiority over them. "Toxic masculinity needs to be eradicated. Men are born to be submissive and stay under our feet," she continued, her voice laced with disdain as she condemned a concept she deemed detrimental. In the face of her dominance, the heroes' party remained powerless, mere echoes of their former selves under her enchanting sway. "If you're not okay with your partner having slept with more than 50 men and care about the body count, or she ends up cheating on you because your pure love and dedication to your partner is boring, and you have a problem with that, you're a sexist, a misogynist, and an insecure little man." She expressed her opinion without a single reservation. "Very well, now amuse your queen. Engage in combat with each other," she articulated, a malevolent grin spreading across her lips. 1 hour later, the ensuing struggle saw Maximus emerging victorious against the others, showcasing his prowess as he defeated everyone including Khan. "Tell me, are you the hero of nature?" inquired the high vampire, her gaze lingering on Maximus's well-built form and imposing presence. "Yes, that's correct," he responded with lifeless eyes, barely revealing any forms of sentience on his face. She appraised his physique, her tone taking on a seductive quality. "You possess quite the muscular and imposing figure for a human. I anticipate quite the fleshly pleasure from having you as my personal entertainment." She spoke as her gaze landed on Maximus' certain region. "My lady, I wish to offer you a gift." Maximus spoke in a hushed voice. "Well, I do enjoy receiving offerings from desperate and feeble men," she responded playfully. "Here you go," he replied, extending his hand to her. An anticipatory grin spread across her lips, and she stepped closer to Maximus with a coquettish tone. "Give it to me." Just as she approached, poised to receive the gift, Maximus suddenly reacted. The beguiling queen couldn't even react faster at this close range as a golden object appeared in Maximus' hand. And with unexpected turn of events, stab! Maximus stabbed her chest with his sword. The high vampire guardian, who had previously exerted control over the heroes' party and manipulated them into demeaning actions, now stood in shock and disbelief. Maximus had seized the opportunity, driving his sword directly into her chest. Her guard had been lowered due to her assumption that her bewitching techniques had them under complete control. "I'm sorry, lady, but what kind of fatherless behavior is this?" asked Khan, who suddenly let go of the act of being under her mind control. "She's a classic example of feminazis on Earth. The ones who want privileges of both men and women but not responsibility or consequences of either side while they scream about sexism and misogyny," spoke Khan to himself. Maximus swiftly unsheathed his sword, and with a thud, A gush of blood spilled from her chest as she crumpled to the ground. Thud. With that kind of attitude, Khan remarked as he approached. You belong to the streets. Cough. Cough. Amidst coughs and splutters, the beguiling queen's demeanor shifted dramatically, suddenly assuming a damsel-like persona as she spat up blood. Stop overreacting, Maximus scolded. We know you vampires possess formidable regenerative abilities. Moreover, a mere stab in the chest won't end you, considering you lack a core. He stated calmly. In the midst of this situation, the remaining members of the hero's party managed to shake off the trance that had ensnared them. What's happening? Rolakin queried, clearly confused. Guess who fell victim to another mind trick? Khan responded sardonically. Again? Exclaimed Rolakin. Speaky, Conan, and Borat collectively, exasperated at yet another mental manipulation. Maximus turned his attention to Atrus. Want to have a go at this one too? He asked the Blue Wolfkin. Nope. I have a record of beating 9 out of 10 women I meet. I don't wish to turn the number into double digits. Khan replied with a hint of reluctance. Wait, why isn't my ability working? The high vampire could finally speak after her lungs and throat recovered, and she asked in disbelief. Really? That was your biggest move? That too right after we killed that guy who messed with our minds? Asked Khan with a disappointed and annoyed voice. Khan and Maximus were already in a league of their own when it came to mental fortitude. Even the previous Chimera's mental attacks worked solely because it was a high level of skill accompanied by many magic formations that increased the effect of his illusion technique, and they were caught off guard before even realizing it. Yet, both of them had easily broken past it, and right after their minds were in zone and on high alert against such psychic attacks, the vampire guardian tried to use the same type of tricks on them. Obviously, they broke past them easily but did not act like they were free to create an opening to take down the guardian. And it worked. The high vampire was now at their mercy when completely taken aback because of her arrogance. Ching! In a calculated move, Speaky swiftly retrieved a hexagonal artifact from within his belongings. With a practiced hand, he utilized the artifact's power to create an intricate and potent magical seal. This seal took form around the female high vampire, ensnaring her within its mystical confines as it sealed her ability to use mana, world energy, and any bloodline-specific abilities. The transformation of the vampire woman's demeanor was stark and immediate. Once radiating arrogance and dominance, her countenance now shifted to one of vulnerability and helplessness. The effect was profound. The bewitching aura that once held the party under its sway was shattered by the sealing artifact. We don't have any intentions to play along with you, and neither do I want to give you a chance to turn into a saint, spoke Maximus as the female high vampire's countenance turned that of a weak and helpless woman. This was what Maximus planned to do the moment he realized that this guardian could use bewitching abilities to turn them into her slaves. Maximus's strategy had been meticulously devised, taking into account the dangerous bewitching abilities possessed by this guardian. Recognizing the danger of allowing her to unleash her full powers, Maximus had acted swiftly, catching her off guard in a scripted manner. His approach was pragmatic and goal-oriented. It was aimed at achieving their primary objective, reaching the god's altar. Their goal was to enter the god's altar as soon as they could, not play home sweet home with these guardians who were out for their blood. Hence, Maximus was going to be as swift and decisive as he could instead of engaging in some grand and prolonged battles just because someone craved chaos or wanted the thrill of battles. I have some questions to ask, and you're going to answer them truthfully, spoke Maximus in a somber tone, his eyes reflecting the dominance in his resolve. With a purposeful demeanor, Maximus drew his sword, his grip firm and his intentions clear. Addressing the captured vampire guardian, his tone was serious and unwavering as he announced his intent to extract information. However, the situation took an unexpected turn when Maximus introduced a seemingly unrelated statement into the conversation. I identify as a feminist myself, he proclaimed, throwing the vampire off balance with this unexpected declaration. Bang! What ensured for next few minutes was Maximus using his shield and sword to bash the beguiling queen, as he taught her some manners for making them do all those lame and infuriating acts. In a swift and impactful move, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. A resounding sound, akin to a gunshot, echoed as Maximus's shield and sword were employed as tools of retribution. The once confident, beguiling queen found herself at the receiving end of a relentless barrage of strikes, courtesy of Maximus's unadulterated wrath. By no means Maximus had anything against women, but he wasn't the kind of person who would allow someone to ostracize him just because he was a man. "Stop! Why are you treating me so harshly?" bellowed the high vampire. Her appearance at the moment made her look like a beautiful woman who was being wronged by ruffians, adding to her pitiful feminine charm. "What kind of dishonorable and misogynistic man beats up a woman?" asked the guardian, trying to weasel her way out. "This isn't misogyny." However, Maximus replied as he clenched his grip on the sword and shield, replying in a cold and grim voice, "This is equality." With her previous arrogance and dominance shattered, the beguiling queen, now identified as Melisandre, wore a countenance filled with a mixture of rage and humiliation. The tables had turned drastically, leaving her unable to move due to the magical seal expertly placed on her by Speaky. "What is your name?" asked Maximus. Maximus's inquiry cut through the air, demanding to know her name. In a tone that hinted at her disbelief and the dent in her pride, she reluctantly admitted, "It's Melisandre," spoke the high vampire with an incredulous expression. The situation was undoubtedly a blow to her ego, as she found herself incapacitated and controlled by the very individuals she had attempted to manipulate. Her inner turmoil was evident, her expression a mixture of seething anger and incredulity. She had underestimated her opponents and was now paying the price for her arrogance. Meanwhile, Speaky, displaying his resourcefulness, summoned a kettle, a jar of water, and rare, deep earth-scented coffee beans. Skillfully utilizing his summoned fire, he commenced the process of brewing coffee. The members of the party, recognizing the need for a respite, took this opportunity to rest and rejuvenate, perhaps taking a moment to revel in the ironic twist of fate that had befallen the once dominant high vampire. Melisandre's expression remained a volatile mix of fury and humiliation, a stark contrast to her current immobilized state due to the effective magical seal cast by Speaky. The once commanding high vampire was now confined by the very magic she had employed to manipulate others. The bitter taste of defeat and her own arrogance was palpable, leading to an inner struggle she couldn't ignore. Accepting the fact that she was being restrained by Maximus, whom she had intended to control, was a tough pill to swallow. Not long ago, she treated all of them like livestock and enjoyed demeaning them as if she was emasculating all the males of this hero's party. But now, the fate had played a joke on her. As Speaky orchestrated this brewing process, the rest of the party recognized the importance of seizing a moment of respite. They settled down, their bodies tired from both the battles they had fought and the psychological onslaught they had endured. Amidst this brewing silence, Khan's voice cut through the air, a touch of sarcasm lacing his words. "You men are the biggest trash of the planet." Melisandre's assertions echoed in the backdrop. "Who told you try all of them?" he continued, directing his words to her with a matter-of-fact demeanor as they awaited the completion of the brewing coffee. Melisandre's attempts to salvage some semblance of her pride were met with Khan's biting retort. The tension in the air remained thick as the conversation turned towards the dynamics between genders. Melisandre's attempt to cast herself as the victim clashed with the pragmatic and unyielding logic presented by Khan. "You're all a bunch of vermin who think ganging up on a woman is powerful," she lashed out in frustration, her words hinting at her resentment towards the party. Khan's response was swift and calculated, a verbal counterpunch that left her momentarily speechless. "So it was justified if all of us were females?" he posed, his words cutting through her argument with sharp precision. In an instant, her perspective was exposed, her skewed logic laid bare. The moment hung heavy with the weight of introspection. Melisandre was forced to confront her own contradictions, the inconsistency in her reasoning glaring in the face of Khan's simple question. Her silence spoke volumes, a testament to the unassailable truth of the matter. As the conversation settled, Khan's snicker pierced the air, accompanied by the sound of sipping the coffee cup handed by Speaky. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. A guardian who had once sought to manipulate and subjugate others now found herself ensnared in her own web of contradictory beliefs. Melisandre's tenacity remained unwavering even in the face of Maximus' forceful interrogation. However, Khan's intervention brought a different kind of pressure to the situation. His words were sharp and laced with a kind of authority that demanded obedience. "Hey, this dishwasher is now irritating me." Khan's remark cut through the tense atmosphere, accompanied by Melisandre's immediate indignation. "What did you just call me?" Her retort was swift, a sign of her resistance and defiance. "Shoo, just shut up." Khan's response was calm but firm, effectively silencing her. He continued, his tone tinged with a mixture of exasperation and disappointment. "Entitled and delusional women like you give a bad reputation to actually all the good women across the world." The weight of his words hung in the air, a critique of her behavior and a broader commentary on the potential consequences of actions like hers. Melisandre was reminded that her actions had broader implications, and her entitled attitude did a disservice to women everywhere. "Just be obedient and tell him what he wants, or I will have to step in." Khan's voice turned ominous, his words promising a stark choice. "And believe me, you do not want me stepping in," he concluded with a chilling warning. The implication was clear: defiance would not end well for her, and Khan's intervention could result in something far more dreadful than her current predicament. Maximus' questions hung in the air, pressing for answers that could potentially shed light on the mysterious circumstances they found themselves in. "Now tell me, where is the exit from this realm?" Maximus' voice was stern, a clear indication that he wouldn't tolerate any evasive responses. "And what powers does the next guardian have?" he continued, showing his strategic mindset by wanting to gather information about the upcoming challenges. "Also, who is the last guardian?" Maximus' inquisition remained unrelenting, his determination evident in his unwavering gaze. "And why are you people stuck inside Babylon in the first place?" The final question carried a weight of curiosity mixed with a tinge of frustration at their predicament. Khan's attention was fully captured by Maximus' probing questions. These were topics he too had been curious about, and he leaned in slightly, awaiting Melisandre's response. The answers to these questions could potentially unravel the mysteries of this realm and the purpose of these guardians within it. After an hour of relentless questioning and a mixture of threats, occasional beatings and sarcasm, Melisandre finally succumbed to the pressure. "I will talk, so please stop," she conceded, her defiant tone replaced with resignation. Maximus pressed on, firing his questions with precision. "What is the next terrain like and what are his weaknesses?" he inquired, his desire for information undiminished. However, Conan, the white tigerkin swordsman, interrupted with skepticism. "Sylvana already told us what we needed to know, so why bother asking her?" he questioned, suggesting that they already had sufficient information. Khan's expression turned annoyed, his patience clearly waning. "Haven't you realized it yet?" he retorted, frustration lacing his voice. "Realize what?" Conan's confusion was evident. "That the information she told us was only half-truth. As a matter of fact, I believe her memories were distorted. After facing the Darkness Assassin and the Chimera who used mind control abilities on us, I am certain she was manipulated to speak those words without even realizing it." Khan analyzed, revealing his astute observation and his suspicion that they had been fed manipulated information. "His name is Kadram, and he is a metal elemental archer," Melisandre began, her voice heavy with resignation. "The terrain is made of millions of metallic tendrils that he can use as cover, distractions, and even to immobilize opponents for a decisive kill shot." Maximus absorbed the information, nodding thoughtfully. "Good. And where is the exit?" he inquired. "It's inside the throne room of my castle," she answered, her tone carrying a hint of reluctance. "All right, Then how do we deal with Cadram effectively? You all seem like a team designated to these different realms within the god's domain. Maximus pressed on, his curiosity apparent. Melisandre hesitated before divulging the strategy to defeat Cadram, her expression showing a mix of resignation and defeat. "See, it wasn't that hard, was it?" spoke Maximus. "This better be useful later, or I'm coming back to kill her again," spoke Khan with a deathly gaze, acting as the bad cop in this investigation. Now, the most crucial part. Maximus's voice grew firm, capturing everyone's attention. "Who are you people? How long have you been trapped here? And why?" Melisandre's expression shifted, showing the internal struggle of her memories. I don't remember. I don't know how much time has passed. The flow of time within the god's domain is unclear," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "Then, tell us about the last guardian and how to defeat him," Maximus demanded with urgency. His name. Melisandre's speech faltered as if she was grappling with her own recollections. But in the next instant, bang, splatter, her body erupted in a violent explosion, sending gore splattering across the ground. Shock rippled through the group as her form disintegrated before their eyes. And suddenly, a set of black eyes appeared in the sky. Melisandre burst apart like an overripe tomato, scattering her flesh, bones, and clothing in all directions. The hero's party stood dumbfounded, their shock quickly giving way to action. Awakens and Speaky conjured defensive barriers and formations, while the rest adapted to their roles, all the while adorned in the gruesome splatter. In the midst of this surreal scene, the once red sky turned a foreboding black, and among the swirling clouds, two ginormous and pitch-black eyes materialized. "Don't delude yourselves into thinking you can escape," a sinister and grave voice resonated. "While you might have managed to eliminate the others, your luck will run dry if our paths cross. And I eagerly anticipate that moment, for I wish to end all of you with my own hands." The words hung heavily in the air, carrying a chilling promise of impending danger. Blip! The eerie eyes dissolved from the sky, vanishing as if they had never been part of this realm of floating islands. Who was that? The voice and presence didn't match what the vampire woman mentioned. Atrus voiced the confusion that gripped the group. "I share your sentiment," Maximus affirmed. "Guess we'll have to proceed to the next location to find out," Borat said, his voice tinged with caution. The group recognized the potency of the being who had not only silenced Melisandre when she was on the brink of divulging crucial information but had also done so from a distance. The message was clear. Underestimating this formidable adversary would be a grave error. Now, the only obstacle that remained in between them and the god's altar was the next guardian named Cadram. 1 hour later, after regaining their composure and strategizing for the upcoming confrontation, the hero of nature's party ventured through the mystical doorway found within Melisandre's castle's throne room. Step, step. Footsteps echoed as they transitioned into a new realm and met with an astonishing sight. Clink, clatter, clang. Metallic structures of all shapes and sizes filled their vision. An entire world crafted from multicolored columns, pillars, chains, and elaborate architectural wonders that could rival mountains. In this place, there was no discernible sky or solid ground. Even the surface they stood on seemed like a mere segment of a massive floating chain. Well, who do we have here?" The deep voice dripped with curiosity. Suddenly, a resonating voice reverberated through the surroundings, capturing their attention. A figure clad in black ranger attire, carrying a golden bow on his back, materialized about a kilometer away on a hovering sphere. "Ah, I guess you killed Melisandre. I reckon I should thank you for it." "Never liked that bitch," spoke this person. Maximus and the party leaped a few hundred meters from these constructions and they closed off the distance between themselves and this guardian. "I guess you know why we're here," spoke Maximus as they stopped atop a flying disc-like construct. "Ido. But it doesn't matter," spoke Cadram, whose appearance was veiled under his hood. "It ends only one way. Either you lot die or I do, he declared fiercely and took out the bow from his back and knocked few arrows at once. I like the second option, spoke Khan and looked at his fellow teammates. Khan's retort cut through the charged atmosphere, asserting their readiness. Meanwhile, Maximus issued a brief order with an air of seriousness, a signal known only to their team. Strategy 18, spoke Maximus with a stern countenance. The members of the party were in no mood for idle conversation. Their intent was solely focused on the upcoming battle. Whoosh! Swoosh! The battleground was dynamic and ever-shifting as the heroes' party split into different directions, seeking tactical advantage. Some climbed to higher ground, while others took positions lower down. Maximus positioned himself squarely in front of Cauldron, his shield ablaze with a golden aura. Shing! With a swift motion, Maximus summoned a hexagonal patterned shield, composed of condensed mana, as his first line of defense. Dang! His red aura flared up, casting a mesmerizing effect with his Knight's Warcry skill, focusing Cauldron's attention solely on him. Fancy, but you idiots are forgetting one thing. This is my realm, and it bends to my will, spoke Cauldron, and in the following moments, the disc-shaped floor Maximus stood on suddenly ascended in the sky like a flying saucer. At this moment, the fifth guardian was controlling the metal inside this realm. In other words, basically everything in here. Crackle! Crackle! All the arrows Cauldron had crackled with golden lightning as he aimed at Maximus, who was put in his range to attack from below. Shoot! Like violent lightning rods, Cauldron shot them in the air, and as soon as those arrows came 2 meters close to Maximus, crack! However, Cauldron quickly displayed his control over the realm itself. As Maximus stood on a disc-shaped platform, it unexpectedly soared into the sky and cracked apart, effectively exposing Maximus and rendering his defense ineffective and causing him to lose his footing, leaving the hero vulnerable to the oncoming attack. Shoot! The metal elemental archer unleashed a barrage of arrows crackling with golden lightning, targeting Maximus from below. Boom! The arrows hit with a resounding crack, creating a deafening shockwave that sent Maximus hurtling more than a kilometer away, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. The party members watched in shock as Maximus was forcefully flung from the impact. But exactly right then, shoot! Shoot! Amidst the chaos of Maximus being flung away, Speaky took the opportunity to launch a barrage of fiery projectiles towards Cauldron. Dozens of massive fireballs and spears surged through the air with fiery intent, aimed directly at the metal elemental archer. Ha, morons! Snickered the archer, and the following second, a hard metallic wall, 3 meters in width alone, appeared behind Cauldron. Bang! It acted as an impromptu shield against the fiery onslaught that Speaky had unleashed. The fiery projectiles slammed into the metallic barrier with powerful impacts. Sizzle! Sizzle! The wall resisted the onslaught, exhibiting a few minor cracks and showing signs of damage from the intense heat, but it held its ground steadfastly. To the party's frustration, Cauldron remained unscathed behind this makeshift defense, his control over the realm's metal proving to be an exceptional safeguard. Slash! Conan seized the opportunity amidst the chaos, launching a slashing attack imbued with the power of light. His blade streaked upward from below, aimed at Cauldron's blind spot. Bang! However, just as the attack was about to connect, a sudden obstacle intervened. A fragment of red metal, manipulated by Cauldron's control over the metallic realm, materialized and blocked the incoming attack, thwarting Conan's strike. Undeterred, the heroes' party was relentless in their assault. They continued to assail Cauldron from various directions, employing a coordinated effort to exploit his vulnerabilities and wear down his defenses. Each attack, however, seemed to meet an ingenious countermeasure or a wall of manipulated metal, showcasing Cauldron's unparalleled control over the metallic domain and making their task exceedingly difficult. This guy is less of an archer and more like a mage or a summoner, said Borat after his attack failed. Despite their relentless efforts and strategic coordination, the heroes' party found themselves in a frustrating deadlock against Cauldron. His exceptional archery skills and heightened senses allowed him to anticipate their attacks and counter them with ease. It seemed as though he was merely playing a game, effortlessly deflecting every assault they launched. As the battle continued, the hero's party struggled to find a way to breach Cauldrum's defenses. His control over the metallic realm gave him an impenetrable shield against their attacks, leaving them with a daunting challenge. Frustration began to mount among the party members, but they knew that giving in to despair was not an option. They needed to find a weakness or exploit a gap in Cauldrum's tactics if they were to have any chance of overcoming his formidable skills. There seemed no way to get rid of this guardian who was fantastic at covering all of his openings, responding quickly to sudden attacks and using the terrain to his advantage as a means of defense, and also nullifying enemies by removing their footing or simply throwing them away before they even prepared their skills and abilities to harm him. As the battle raged on and Cauldrum expertly deflected every attack thrown at him, a sudden realization struck him like a lightning bolt. Wait a minute, wasn't there another guy apart from these 5 people? This sudden realization dawned on the metal elemental archer. Amidst the chaos, he remembered that there was supposed to be another member of the hero's party, someone who hadn't shown themselves yet. Crack, crack. But before he could grasp the situation, in the midst of his confusion, the ground beneath him crackled and shattered as if responding to his unspoken thoughts. 2 powerful fists of ice burst forth, gripping Cauldrum's legs in a vice-like grip. The shock and pain from the permafrost surged through him as the ice began to freeze and weaken his limbs, leaving him immobilized and vulnerable. Shatter. Both of his legs quickly shattered and he dropped on the metallic floor. Swoosh. From the newly formed fissure, a figure emerged. It was Atrus, the blue wolfkin whose cunning strategy had caught Cauldrum off guard. You focused so much on your enemies attacking from a distance. His voice was laced with a sense of authority as he taunted Cauldrum for overlooking his surroundings in favor of focusing solely on distant threats. Khan's presence was dominating, his eyes gleaming with fierce determination as he delivered his declaration. That you forgot where you were standing. With Cauldrum's downfall at the hands of Khan's unexpected and well-executed strategy, the tides of the battle had abruptly shifted. The enigmatic and veiled assassin, whose true identity remained shrouded in mystery, had been taken down by a series of moves that he hadn't foreseen amidst the chaos of combat. Atrus, the water/ice elemental brawler, emerged as the pivotal force behind Cauldrum's defeat. His precise timing and powerful manipulation of ice had caused the once formidable guardian to crumble like a fragile sandcastle. The shock of the sudden turn of events was evident on Cauldrum's masked face, his hood unable to hide his surprise and torment as his body was rapidly encased in ice. Struggling to find his voice amidst the freezing grip of Atrus' attack, Cauldrum managed to rasp out a question filled with disbelief. You? How? The pain and confusion in his words were palpable, a testament to the unexpectedness of his defeat. It's simple, Atrus responded calmly, his icy powers still swirling around Cauldrum. Melisandre, although unwillingly, revealed your weakness to us, and we used that knowledge to our advantage, explained Atrus as he squatted down and looked at Cauldrum with a gaze filled with pity. What do you mean? He asked with bated breath. In response, Atrus maintained a calm demeanor, his icy powers still enveloping Cauldrum's immobilized form. What I mean, he began, his voice steady, is that we understand the limitations of your abilities. We know that you are a master at controlling anything made of metal. However, we also know that because of your class as an archer, there are plenty of restrictions on your abilities, said Atrus. At the core of it, Khan chimed in, his tone analytical. You can only manipulate metal in a linear fashion, moving it in a single direction at a time. Additionally, you can exert enough force to break objects apart, but this requires intense concentration and significant mana expenditure, particularly over long distances. Step. Maximus, now standing on the same metallic surface as Cauldrum, began to elucidate the intricacies of their well-executed strategy. He cut straight to the core of their approach, highlighting the factors that played into their victory. The attacks you effectively defended against were all launched from a distance of around 20 meters. Maximus clarified, emphasizing the significance of this distance. The explanation laid bare the foundation of their tactical advantage. Speaky's explanation followed seamlessly, adding another layer to their understanding of Cauldrum's limitations. While attacking you from multiple directions, we exploited the fact that your powers don't extend to transforming the metal you control into various shapes, or using it as projectiles to attack your enemies. Speaky explained, his smirk underscoring their satisfaction at cracking the puzzle. Awakens' voice joined the conversation, further revealing their comprehensive analysis of their opponent. And as you faced attacks from multiple sources simultaneously, your consciousness was increasingly affected by the cumulative targeting. He elucidated. This revelation showcased their grasp of the mental aspect of their adversary's abilities. The hero's party had demonstrated not only their combat prowess, but also their strategic intelligence in dismantling Cauldrum's defenses. Did you really think that members of a hero's party, that are some of the best fighters in the Empire, would be so incompetent that they can't ambush one enemy and break past his defenses for more than 10 minutes? My, talk about being overconfident, spoke Atrus with a mocking tone. So you weren't aiming to physically harm me in the first place? Asked Cauldrum with a puzzled voice. Bingo! Khan took his turn to explain the final pieces of their puzzle, revealing the intricacies that had allowed them to take advantage of Cauldrum's overconfidence. Throughout the battle, we purposefully diverted your attention and occupied your thoughts. Khan reiterated, stressing how they had exploited Cauldrum's focus to their advantage. Your sensory abilities, which should have been able to detect my presence as I hid and methodically moved closer to you using the metallic surroundings, were strained to the point of ineffectiveness. Khan's explanation continued, revealing the last step of their ingenious strategy. Once I had positioned myself beneath you, I temporarily transformed black ice and floated across this metallic terrain. The entire surrounding itself is black, aiding my stealth by preventing your eyesight from detecting my movement. He stated with a triumphant smirk. You bastards! Don't think that's the end of me, bellowed Cauldrum and raised his aura. Shoo! Don't even think about it. I made sure that once I get to you, the frost made with my mana won't allow your body to use your own mana reserves or world energy at all, said Khan as he kept gloating. And next it was Maximus who spoke. We used the loopholes and limitations of your own powers that you are so proud of. But you know what made it easier for us to execute this plan? He said and looked at Cauldrum with a disappointed gaze. What was that? Asked Cauldrum with great pain as his lungs were now affected by the frost as well. Your own arrogance, admonished Maximus. Had you chosen to use your abilities at the extreme and turned into a saint from the very beginning of the battle, none of it would have been possible. He stated with a stern voice. We allowed you to think that you could handle all of us easily from the very beginning. We used your overconfidence to wear your mana and mind out till you failed to notice Atrus. We gave you an illusion of supremacy where you felt like you were nigh invincible against us as we struggled to even land a hit on you. In the end, this false sense of superiority and ignorance is what got you into this situation. Spoke Maximus, his tone filled with pity for Cauldrum. Man, you have to give it to him when he creates battle strategies, don't you think? That's a befitting quality to be called a hero, said Khan as he gave a playful smile. Their explanation now painted a clear picture of their victory over Cauldrum, illustrating how their multifaceted strategy, including misdirection, psychological warfare, and strategic use of their unique abilities, had brought down the seemingly invincible Guardian. Cauldrum then gazed at Maximus with a sense of defeat, but also acknowledgement as he concluded with his last breath. So you didn't play the game, instead, you played the player. Cauldrum drew his final breath, accepting his defeat and acknowledging that it was his own negligence that had allowed the infiltrators from the hero of nature's party to exploit his weaknesses. So he was a Lucayon, Atrus remarked as he finally uncovered the archer's identity beneath the hood. This species was one Khan had encountered previously in the Zivid Empire as Legolas Ragnarsson, where his Misthios mercenary guild had been commissioned to safeguard their lands from a monster outbreak. At the time, He had learned that the luck ions possessed a natural affinity for the metal element, allowing them to manipulate metallic objects using mana. This unique trait made them the most skilled race in blacksmithing within the entire Elven Empire. Consequently, Khan, who had conducted business with them before, retained a vivid recollection of this particular species. Crack, shatter. Cauldrons remained scattered like fragments of glass on the metallic floor as Atrus permafrost had successfully invaded and crystallized every cell within the now-defeated Guardian's body. The hero's party had triumphed over the fifth Guardian of now-defeated Guardian's body. The hero's party had triumphed over the fifth Guardian of God's domain, but the final Guardian remained shrouded in mystery. As Maximus contemplated their next move, he acknowledged the unknown nature of their last adversary. The last Guardian, we know nothing about him, Maximus remarked, his gaze fixed on the remnants of Cauldrum's weapons and clothing. Khan, drawing from his extensive experience, added his perspective. Given how his eyes appeared in the region before, he is probably aware of everything and knows how we killed the rest. He is most likely to be well prepared and not fall for any of our antics or mind games. I reckon he will fight us as a saint from the very beginning. Thankfully, I didn't reveal anything more than my immunity against darkness element when I fought Zalvik in the third region. So my identity is safe for now. Thought Khan. So are we going in blind for the next Guardian? We have no reliable intel on him, and neither do we know anything about the terrain of the next region. Spoke Borat with an incredulous gaze. Nearly half of their group was already killed, and the remainder wasn't confident to face the last Guardian that protected the god's altar. Thus, this concern was indeed a pressing matter. But unlike the rest, Maximus and Atrus did not even have a shred of fear or reluctance on their faces. After looking at their dejected faces, Maximus spoke to the other 4 members of the group. We have come so far based on our skills and abilities as well as our teamwork. The last Guardian might be the strongest opponent we would have to face, but if anything this journey ever since we entered Babylon has taught us, we will survive if we keep persisting till the last moment, said the hero of nature in an uplifting tone. However, the very next moment, like hell we are. That assassin in the second layer killed 2 of us, while that psychic chimera made 2 more to commit suicide. And that high vampire almost killed us all for fun while controlling our bodies against our wills. Spoke Conan, his voice frightened. He is right. All of us could have been dead if not for our luck. But do you guys really think that we could just survive against an enemy who will be at his full power and is possibly at a higher saint rank compared to all the others we faced so far? Asked Speaky with a discouraged countenance. His logic was sound and also true in a sense based on what transpired so far. We barely survived so far with our strengths and abilities sealed at semi-saint rank. It will be too stupid to simply charge in to fight the last Guardian without any preparation, said Rolakin with a slight hint of unwillingness to move forward. That last Guardian, that's the endgame for us. How are you guys planning on beating that? Asked Borat, trying to muster his courage. Together, replied Maximus in a stern and firm tone. We'll lose, said Conan, still unwilling to participate in the upcoming battle. And we'll do that together too, replied the hero of nature without any sense of hesitation in his eyes. The entire surrounding turned grim and the tension was palpable as their hearts raced. But right then, damn these cowards. We should go by ourselves. Khan spoke as he rolled his eyes up. This guy is a pussy. He spoke while pointing his finger at Conan, the tigerkin. This guy is a chicken. He continued while pointing at Speaky, the peacockkin. And this guy is a goddamn snake. He concluded as he pointed at Rolakin, the basiliskkin. Let these losers stay here. We also won't have to look after them in the next area. That's better since we won't have to hold back or feel the need to save their asses during the fight, he proclaimed in disdain. Khan was tired of thoughts and opinions at this point because he was never the type of person who gave up on a mission right when he was close to the finish line. Hence, this sudden turn of cowardice among the members of the party seemed nothing more than a waste of time to him. Clink. Rumble. Right then, the realm started changing after it detected Cauldrum's death at last, and a pitch-black 10-meter-tall gate emerged from the scattered remains of his corpse out of the ground. This was their cue to leave for the last battle. "We're leaving, whether you come or not," spoke Maximus with a slightly disappointed gaze. "Wait, I'm coming too," spoke Borat. Unlike the rest, his expression was composed and his mind resolute as he gathered courage on his own to face the last guardian. "Will they come?" asked Maximus to Atrus telepathically. "Of course they will, because they have the highest chances of survival with you around them. They will change their minds because in the end, if you die, their lives are also forfeited," responded Khan. The trio reached the gateway to the final region, and as Khan anticipated, the rest 3 remainder members followed them with hesitant expressions. Meanwhile, inside the Black Castle where the last guardian resided, a bizarre phenomenon occurred. "While alive, all of you failed to do what was expected of you. Now, do not disappoint me in death," spoke a slim figure in green and golden hooded attire and majestic robes. Before him were 5 different colored heaps of crystalline cores: green, black, red, yellow, and finally gray. Squirm. Suddenly, the shattered cores started squirming like a school of fish on the dry floor. And in upcoming moments, those massive crystals started transforming, and finally, 5 new figures arose. A dryad, a gargoyle, a chimera, a high vampire, and lastly, a Lucayon. All the guardians that the hero's party previously killed were now alive again. And this time, every single one of them had pitch-black eyes with web-like veins spread across their faces. "Let's see how they fare against me using all the guardians as my subjects. Let me test if the current hero of nature's party can last against me," spoke this figure as he finally took off his hood. A figure of a handsome and enigmatic man was revealed as the last guardian revealed his class. The Puppeteer. The hero's party had reached the final realm, where God's altar was said to be located. This realm was vastly different from the ones they had previously traversed. It was an expansive, cold desert with a massive, glowing moon in the night sky. The eerie chill in the air sent shivers down their spines. Before them, a stone bridge stretched for hundreds of meters, leading to a foreboding black castle with dreary architecture. The castle emanated an ominous aura that unsettled all who gazed upon it. The party had come a long way, facing numerous challenges and powerful guardians. With uncertainty looming over them, they now stood at the threshold of their final trial, ready to confront the last guardian and reach God's altar. The outcome of this encounter would determine their fate and the fate of the Beast Empire. Step, step. As the party made their way across the stone bridge towards the enormous black castle, a dark fog surrounded them, prompting everyone to activate their defensive skills and heighten their senses. "Everyone be alert and assist each other in case there is a surprise ambush on us," commanded Maximus as he took the lead, conjuring a massive 10-meter-tall golden shield of his imposing aura to protect the group from the front. "I sense nobody here. It's as if there is no living being inside this castle," thought Khan after he inspected this estate. Khan, using his hunter's domain skill, attempted to sense any presence within the castle, but was met with an unsettling revelation. He couldn't detect the souls of any living beings, nor could he sense any movement within the castle or the barren desert surrounding it. It was as if this entire realm had been stripped of life. Creak! And right then, the massive 15-meter-tall and 6-meter-wide black gates at the front opened. "Come inside. I have been waiting for you." With the massive black gates swinging open on their own, the party was greeted by a majestic yet ominous voice that reverberated through the realm, inviting them to enter. "All right, everyone. Looks like the host was already looking forward to seeing us. There's no point in staying here. Let's see through this till the end," said Maximus with a resolute tone. The hero of nature, displaying his characteristic determination, urged the group to press forward despite the potential risks. They all understood that this could very well be a trap, but finding God's altar was their ultimate goal, and confronting the last guardian was a necessary step on that path. With their resolve steeled and their senses finely tuned for any threat, the hero's party stepped through the imposing gates and into the foreboding darkness of the Black Castle, ready to face their final adversary. The group passed through hallways after hallways, climbed up floors and finally at the top floor of this castle. They ventured inside a grand hall that resembled a king's throne room. Step, step. With Maximus in the lead, the group finally saw a dark brown-haired man with blue eyes, adorning the lightweight black and red armor and cloak of a mage as he sat on a golden throne at the end of the hall. In his hands was a scepter with a fist-sized glowing blue crystal at its top. "Welcome to my humble abode," spoke this handsome and mature man who looked to be in his mid-30s. His gaze was intense despite the friendly smile on his face, and the dimly lit room added to a sense of eeriness in the atmosphere. You know why we are here, don't you?" asked Maximus with his domineering posture of a leader. "Of course I do. It's been a long time since I have been doing this. But first, answer my question," said the man with short hair as he showed a hint of curiosity on his face. "Which number are you?" he asked. "What do you mean by which number?" asked Maximus with a befuddled tone. "I mean, which number of summoned hero of nature are you?" he elaborated. "And what does that have to do with you? Aren't you just a guardian tasked to test the new hero or heroine of nature during the conclave of heroes?" questioned Maximus in return with a skeptical glance. "A guardian bound to this place should have no business knowing the happening of the world outside of Babylon and his designated god's domain. Stubborn, I see. Compared to the previous heroine of nature, you are not easily intimidated despite knowing that I can end your life whenever I want. I like that," spoke the last guardian and chuckled lightly. "Ha! We won't know who can kill who unless we fight to the death first," responded Maximus, asserting his own dominance with a resolute stature. "Ha ha! They all say that until I start showing them their place. The previous party that came 300 years ago was no different. Sadly, that coward heroine survived by using her party members as her shields and entered the god's altar before I could finish her." He spoke with an incredulous tone. "Since you won't answer my first question, tell me what happened to the Falker Empire," commended the last guardian with an expectant gaze. "What? I don't know any Falker Empire. Never heard of it," responded Maximus. Gasp! But right then, a loud gasp was heard from behind. And the person to gasp, having his eyes filled with shock and terror, was none other than Borat, the green-maned lionkin knight. Everyone looked at Borat with confused countenances. "Do you know anything about this Falker Empire?" asked Awakens to Borat. "Of course I do. I'm a direct descendant of the first emperor's bloodline. Falker Empire was the original name of Nader Empire," spoke Borat with a bated breath. "You mean," said Conan as he connected the pieces together. "Yes, it was before the revolution when humans had enslaved all the demi-humans and beastkin races of the empire. That was 700 years ago," said Borat as he shared a knowledge passed down to generations of his family, since their ancestor was the first emperor of the Beast Empire. Borat was a descendant of the powerful figure who threw the tyrannical rule of humans and brought freedom to all the non-human species and netizens, renaming their home as the Nader Empire. "Ah, so it's been 700 years since then. Time flies by so easily," spoke the last guardian suddenly with a reminiscent gaze. "Wait a minute. If you know about the Falker Empire despite being inside Babylon, and given the fact that you are a human," said Borat, his entire being bewildered to his core. "Yes, I am who you think I am," said the last guardian and stood up from his throne. A menacing smile appeared on his face as he let out a devilish grin. "Everyone, run! He isn't just some guardian. In my family's records, he is called the First Fallen. He died 700 years ago inside the god's domain," exclaimed Borat, his heart palpitating in sheer terror as he revealed the true identity of the last guardian, the seventh hero of nature, Marcus Brutus. As the hero's party ventured deeper into the Black Castle, Khan received a stunning revelation that left him dumbfounded. "What?" This time, it was Khan who was flabbergasted and left speechless. In his past life as Elric, he had a hobby of learning the history of powerful people, different religions, cultures, mythologies, and the most powerful figures in the annals of history of Earth. So obviously, he knew who Marcus Brutus was. This man in front of them was the conspirator and the one who killed one of the greatest generals in human history. The last guardian they were about to face was not only a chosen hero like himself and Maximus but also hailed from Earth, just as he did. This unexpected twist added an entirely new layer of intrigue and complexity to their final confrontation. How is that even possible? Was he summoned just like Bjorn Ironside in this world? But didn't he die by committing suicide? He shouldn't have been alive to be summoned inside Vantria at all. Spoke Khan to himself in bewilderment. Right then, Rathnar spoke in his mind. That shouldn't come as a surprise to you, kid. Just like the god of darkness, god of nature and god of life can also resurrect dead people from different worlds and summon them as their heroes. The hero of nature I killed back then was also one of such individuals. He himself mentioned that during our battle since he was a loudmouth. Elaborated the Peak Saint. What Rathnar spoke was indeed the truth Khan was unaware of. Hence, the immense shock he received was finally subsided. God of Life had brought back Bjorn Ironside from the dead and summoned him as the fourth hero of life in the Elven Empire aka Zivit Empire around 1,400 years ago. Meanwhile, God of Nature resurrected Marcus Brutus and summoned him as the seventh hero of nature when the Nader Empire of the present was called the Falker Empire under the human reign 700 years ago. So far, Khan had heard of two of the heroes who were from Earth just like him, and one of them was standing right in front of him. This newfound knowledge added depth to Khan's understanding of the situation and made it clear that gods from Vantria had their influence extended even into Earth's history to some degree. At this moment, all the members of the Heroes Party were on high alert and activated their life-saving skills after learning the truth. To think that a past hero of nature to be stuck here, said Maximus with an incredulous tone. The Heroes Party found themselves in a precarious situation. Their abilities and skills were limited to semi-saint rank compared to the unrestricted powers of the last guardian, Marcus Brutus, who was also a hero. This revelation shattered Maximus's confidence in their ability to protect their allies and achieve their goal, as he, as a leader, had to assume that Marcus Brutus was likely to possess his own divine abilities as well. The playing field had become more challenging, and the Heroes Party needed to devise a strategy that would level the odds against this formidable opponent. This unforeseeable confrontation with a former chosen hero added complexity to their mission, raising questions about the nature of their role in this final battle and what awaited them in this final showdown. What? Are you scared already? This takes out the fun. Never mind, I had no intentions to play any games with you lot anyways, said Brutus with a domineering tone. Next, his mocking expression turned dead serious as his eyes turned black as if they were an endless pit of darkness. I have watched all of you, how you killed the other guardians, my former party members, and what skills you used to defeat them. Don't be under the delusion that they will work on me or you could outsmart me in any way. Just accept your sealed fates and surrender your lives to me for killing my comrades. That way, I will at least grant all of you a swift and painless death, declared Brutus in a grim and tyrannical voice. But right then, it was Maximus who smirked and replied sternly, I have never seen anyone beg for an easy victory so passionately. Boom! A massive black and red aura burst forth from Brutus' body as he unleashed his killing intent, and the entire hall trembled as if an earthquake was shaking the entire castle. Big words for a mere hero who couldn't even protect half of his comrades inside the god's domain, spoke Brutus with visible disdain. Such hubris for a hero who died during the conclave of heroes and failed to enter God's altar, mocked Maximus in return. Ha! You! I will relish the moment I end your life with my own hands. I will make you watch as all of your comrades fall before your eyes and there's nothing you can do to save them, declared Brutus, revealing his contempt. The confrontation between Maximus Gladius and Marcus Brutus was fraught with tension and mutual disdain. The massive release of Brutus' dark aura signaled his malevolent intent, causing the very castle to quake. However, Maximus was unyielding in the face of this threat. He taunted Brutus for his past failures and made it clear that he wouldn't back down. Their exchange revealed deep-seated animosity and a desire for vengeance on Brutus' part, since they had killed the previous guardians who were now revealed to be his former party members. This guy, we shouldn't underestimate him, He was a skilled politician and a tactician. He also has experience as a war commander of the army. We can't let Maximus be the main weapon without a strategy first. Thought Con. Con wisely recognized the need for strategy and planning to counter Brutus's tactical and leadership experience. The battle ahead was not only a test of strength but also a test of wits, and they couldn't afford to underestimate their formidable opponent. Also, being the intellectual person he was, Con had figured out quickly that Maximus was intentionally provoking Brutus during their exchange so that the last guardian would target all of his wrath on him. Because currently only Maximus had the highest chances of survival due to his divine abilities as the hero of nature. Con's keen intellect allowed him to grasp the subtlety of Maximus's strategy. Also, Maximus' tactic had a dual purpose. First, it would allow the rest of the party members a better chance of survival, and second, it would give Maximus the opportunity to assess Brutus's abilities and tactics up close. Without even declaring it, Maximus was taking all the burden of the upcoming battle on himself just so his teammates could survive this incomparably powerful enemy. His role as the hero of nature, backed by divine abilities, made him the best candidate for this dangerous task. Crack, shatter. If it is a painful death you seek, then you shall have it, declared Brutus as his aura rose. Bang! He banged his scepter on the ground and soon, 6 spherical shadows appeared on the floor and from each of them, familiar figures arose one after another. Shock! All the members of the hero's party were left sundered as they recognized all the previous guardians they faced before, all of whom were now at saint rank from the start. Son of a bitch! This guy, thought Con as he came to a conclusion with an irritated countenance. He has the necromancy divine ability. Con had figured out just from the first encounter that the 7th hero of nature, Marcus Brutus, was using the necromancy divine ability after Maximus successfully provoked him. At this moment, he instantly remembered the perks of this divine ability from the time when he was given a choice to select his divine ability after being resurrected by the god of darkness inside the world boundary. Damn it! This complicates things, thought Con as he recounted the effects. Necromancy as a divine ability was a formidable choice, especially for someone like Marcus Brutus, the 7th hero of nature. Just like ability absorption and synthesis divine abilities, necromancy also came with a lot of subskills under it than just being a single-use ability. It granted several significant perks and abilities. Con, with his eidetic memory, remembered all the information about this divine ability. 1. Control over dead. Necromancy enabled the user to control and manipulate the dead. They could reanimate corpses and spirits, giving them commands and turning them into servants or soldiers. This can create a powerful and versatile army, particularly useful in battle. 2. Life drain. Necromancer divine ability can help siphon the life force from living beings, weakening their enemies while simultaneously enhancing their own vitality. This ability made them challenging opponents in combat. 3. Summoning undead creatures. Users of necromancy can summon various types of undead creatures that they previously killed or created by themselves, ranging from skeletal warriors to vengeful spirits. These creatures can be used strategically in battle or for other purposes. 4. Curse and hexes. Necromancers can cast curses and hexes on their foes, causing ailments or debuffs. These dark spells can inflict suffering, weaken their enemies, or even lead to their ultimate demise. 5. Necrotic magic. Necromancers wield potent spells associated with darkness element and decay at the same time, which dwindled the opponent's strength and mana steadily. 6. Resistance to light element or holy energy. Having necromancy as a divine ability usually grants resistance to holy, aka the light element. This ability provides protection against holy spells and other harmful effects from classes like shamans and holy priests. Compared to normal inhabitants of Vantria, a hero with necromancy divine ability had mountainous resistance to the very element that was supposed to bane of their existence. Marcus Brutus, with his chosen divine ability, presents a formidable challenge for the hero's party. His mastery of necromancy makes him a potent adversary, especially when he combines it with his extensive combat experience and tactical knowledge. The hero's party will need to devise a cunning strategy to confront him effectively. Apart from that, the reason why one would consider necromancy divine ability as a completely broken cheat skill even among the other divine abilities was because it had no shortcomings when handling powerful summons, and neither was there any level or rank restriction on the user. This meant that unlike Khan, who needed mana and world energy to use different types of summoned entities, most of which were dependent on his reserves, Marcus Brutus had no such problem. He also didn't need to be higher ranked to control or had to perfect necromancy skills or study dark magic for it like others. Also, necromancy divine ability gave the chosen hero or heroine a free pass to create multiple powerful summoned creatures without any negative side effects on the caster's body. They didn't need to become a skeletal lich or a necromancer like Cyril, and neither were they dependent on external artifacts to use as a source of power to maintain their undeads. Even Khan's own King of the Dead skill that he acquired long ago, which let him create an army of undead with the trigger word, Awaken, needed mana and world energy to activate, and Khan couldn't awaken a being stronger than himself as there was a level and rank restriction. The seventh hero of nature, on the other hand, was exempt from such hassle. Even Rudra, who was at mythical rank from the start, was a product of synthesis divine ability and not any of his necromancer-related skills. Now, why didn't Khan choose this OP divine ability before the god of darkness sent him to Vantria? Because as amazing as it sounded for a chosen hero or heroine to use it, it would be rendered useless for Khan, who was to be hunted by the world and all the powerful saints serving an empire that worshipped other gods and goddesses. Mainly because no one was going to kill powerful creatures, saints, and offer them to Khan or teach him how to utilize necromancy divine ability most efficiently. After being sent to Vantria, Khan would be in a situation where he had to survive on his own while hiding his true identity as hero of darkness from the world. On top of it, he had to start from scratch in his new body and learn different skills, classes, and their powers to be self-dependent from the start, unlike a necromancer backed by an entire empire's powerhouses and had countless resources at their disposal. However, the biggest drawback of it was something Khan noticed while making that choice. Although it helped one to command and basically enslave powerful beings without any sort of repercussion to the user's body or need of mana and world energy, the fundamental problem lay in the user itself. From a psychological perspective, would you truly work very hard to the point every waking moment felt like death and misery, like Khan had to go through during his training, as well as suffer immense and agonizing torture to both mind and the body in various gruesome ways as you died and kept reviving yourself again and again? With powerful saints and monstrous creatures at your beck and call, anyone in that position was prone to slack off and not work hard enough to become incredibly strong like Khan did. Hence, eventually, these heroes would most likely become a hollow shell of themselves and rely completely on their undead servants while lacking in several areas such as their personal firepower, physical defense, magical skills, and spell proficiency. You were more likely to be dependent on others than on yourself. A prime example would be any RPG or MMORPG player with necromancy skill or a class. In almost all the media, these were always the classes where enemies took them down by destroying the caster in the end. The number of undead didn't matter, and neither the fact how strong were their summoned entities. You took down the caster and the game was over. So unless you were Ains ul Gaun himself, the necromancy divine ability came with a huge price. From Khan's perspective, what's the point of being guarded by a dragon when a small nail on the ground could kill you? If he relied on the perks of this effortless and OP divine ability, he would have never reached the realm of power he was at now. Hence, Khan decided to give up on the necromancy divine ability back then. Yet, at this moment, he was fighting a person who was from Earth just like him and having chosen this ability. Khan stood stupefied again and contemplated their current predicament. Based on that same pressure, he is a peak 6-stage saint. But unlike us, he isn't suppressed by the laws of Babylon. What can we do to defeat him and all those saint guardians? Wondered Khan as he racked his brain to come up with a strategy. But right when he was lost in his thoughts, "Don't worry, boy. I have fought a heroine with necromancy divine ability before. I know the biggest weakness of this type of opponent. Although we don't know what his other divine ability is, I have a plan to render this one useless against us." Spoke Rathnar in Khan's mind. Really? Tell me, what is it? Asked Khan haphazardly. It's not an easy one. I can guarantee your survival with this plan. But in order for this strategy to work and help us defeat this hero of nature, replied Rathnar, the peak saint. However, his voice turned somber as he declared the implications of his plan to defeat the enemy. We'll have to make sacrifices. Without sugarcoating it, the former peak saint of Vantria, Rathnar the Conqueror, candidly offered Khan advice on a strategy that would ultimately result in the loss of some of Khan's allies. As this marked Khan's first encounter with another hero of a god possessing the necromancy divine ability, his knowledge and expertise in facing such a formidable opponent were severely lacking. Despite drawing upon his memory, Khan could only recall a handful of potential weaknesses that might be exploited, yet none of them provided a guaranteed solution. This was unsurprising, given that Brutus, too, possessed an additional divine ability. Furthermore, given Brutus's previous roles as a skilled politician and tactician, it was evident that he had devised a strategic combination that would ensure his own survival. Khan, the biggest trump cards we have here are you and Maximus. You won't die easily to darkness and rot used by a necromancer, and Maximus has an affinity to most of the natural elements of reality. Also, he can use light element even better than anyone present here. Instead of wasting time on a long-drawn frontal confrontation, you should focus on assisting him and exploit some of the weaknesses of heroes with necromancy divine ability. Revealed Rathnar sternly. As long as it gets us alive out of this situation. Replied Khan. As for the whole strategy of sacrificing allies to secure victory, Khan didn't even hesitate to consider it. Why? The answer lies in the absence of any emotional bonds that might have deterred him from such a ruthless tactic. Although the battles they had faced thus far had been filled with camaraderie and teamwork under Maximus's leadership, the current version of Khan was emotionally detached enough not to form any meaningful connections with those around him. His presence in this perilous mission was driven by the need to maintain his fabricated identity as Atrus and gain access to the god's domain designated for him. Inside that divine realm lay the opportunity to absorb the divine essence left behind by the god of darkness, which was essential for preserving his own life. Khan's purpose here wasn't to play house or cultivate those typical nakama power relationships often portrayed in manga and novels. Khan was a rational individual, and his decisions were consistently guided by logic and self-preservation. In a scenario where the choice came down to sacrificing others, particularly those whom he didn't regard as friends or individuals worth knowing in the long run, Khan's obvious priority would always be himself. "All right, kid. Now here's what we are going to do," whispered Rathnar. Soon afterwards, he revealed his plan based on his own experience when he was alive and used to kill heroes for the sake of making a statement. "This is ingenious," replied Khan, and a slight smirk formed on his face. Their whole encounter within his mind and the entire thought process was barely 15 seconds in the real world after Marcus Brutus had just declared his intentions and revealed the summoned saints' guardians. "This place is too small for my entertainment," said Brutus with a devilish grin. "Stomp." He stomped his scepter on the floor, and soon, the surrounding walls of the throne room turned into white dust, disappearing with a gust of wind. Before anyone from the hero's party could react, they were all now transported to a pristine white desert filled with a chilling aura and a massive bright moon in the sky. "This is outside of the castle?" wondered Rolakin, the basilisk kin mage. This place was indeed outside of the black castle they previously saw after they entered through the gateway of this realm. Meanwhile, Khan had his own worries. That was at least a legendary rank spell that transported us all in a second. It's not an illusion magic skill, and neither was it related to space law. It was more like teleportation spanning hundreds of kilometers without even chanting a word, and he somehow bent the reality to bring us here, as if this realm beckoned to his will in mere seconds. "He's definitely not a foe to be taken lightly," thought Khan to himself. He himself was a proper mage, and his master was none other than the former Dragon Emperor himself. So obviously, Khan could infer and analyze the situation and what kind of spell was used in mere moments. Make it entertaining. And most importantly, I want to see despair on the hero's face as all of his comrades are killed in front of him. spoke Brutus mincingly and slowly leaned on his throne. Shing! A blinding golden shield encapsulated the last guardian and soon, his entire figure disappeared into thin air. Boom! Boom! One after another, massive auras made of leaden saint pressure erupted as the 6 undead guardians, now in their full saint rank form, released their bloodlust. Spat! All of the hero's party members, including Maximus and Khan, were instantly forced to fall flat on the ground made of nothing but white sand, their bodies unable to even move a muscle or take a breath. But right at that moment, divine ability, Izanami's champion. Boom! A massive and multicolored aura skyrocketed, and all the saint pressure mad E of killing intent was thwarted and thrown off of their bodies. Thud! The rest of the party members were thrown few hundreds meters backwards from the point of explosion as the aura erupted. Thud! Thud! The blinding light finally faded, and in this vast and cold white desert, a ginormous titanic figure appeared, looking down at the Saint Guardians as if looking at small ants. Maximus Gladius, aka the hero of nature, had used his divine ability to transform into his perfectly synergized Titan Knight form as they faced the group of saints. Strategy 21. Spoke the massive Maximus as his golden hair fluttered in the air, and even his words resonated in the nearby 3 kilometers. Atreus, I leave you in charge. If things go wrong, you know what to do. So quickly get away from here, because the way things are going to happen here from now on, spoke the hero of nature with a firm and resolute voice of a overlord as he declared, I might end up killing you all by accident. Khan and the rest of their party hastily retreated from the battlefield as the tumultuous clash of saints erupted, leaving Maximus to confront the formidable adversaries on his own. The opponents he faced were no ordinary foes. Sylvana, holding the rank of a first-stage saint, radiated an aura of raw power. Zalvik, a second-stage saint, harnessed the very essence of darkness. Chimera, a third-stage saint, unleashed his primal might. Melisandre, a fourth-stage saint, exuded an air of beguiling authority. Towering above them all was Cauldron, a fifth-stage saint, whose strength seemed nearly insurmountable. Despite the glaring disparity in their ranks and the fact that, due to the suppression enacted by God's domain, Maximus was reduced to the equivalent of a first-stage saint, he stood resolute and unwavering. It was a 1-against-5 battle, with 4 of his adversaries boasting higher ranks. Cauldron, the 5th Guardian, outshone Maximus in power by a staggering 20-fold. Most individuals placed in such dire circumstances would have been overcome by sheer terror, their spirits broken as they accepted the inevitability of their defeat. However, Maximus was no ordinary warrior. He displayed no hint of resignation, as though the very concept of fear had been erased from his psyche. In response to Maximus's solitary defiance, his formidable foes unleashed their devastating powers with unwavering determination. Their actions showcased a chilling display of might. Sylvana, embracing her first-stage saint abilities, assumed her towering 200-meter-tall dryad form. The very earth seemed to tremble beneath her colossal presence as she loomed over the battlefield. Zalvik, the master of darkness, exerted his dominion over the nearby 10 kilometers of space. His darkness element transformed the once tranquil area into a foreboding and sinister battleground, shrouded in an impenetrable veil of obscurity. Chimera, manifesting his third-stage saint powers, underwent a startling transformation, morphing into a ferocious, 100-meter-tall behemoth. With calculated skill, he eroded the terrain, giving rise to treacherous lakes of venom that added an element of treacherous peril to the battleground. Melisandre, known as the Beguiling Queen, harnessed her fourth-stage saint abilities with an air of commanding authority. She used the very essence of her aura to conjure a malevolent storm of red, boiling blood. In the ominous sky above, 3,000 razor-sharp spears, forged from highly volatile blood, materialized, poised to pierce through any armor that dared to challenge them. Finally, Cauldron, the fifth-stage saint, exhibited his overwhelming power. He summoned 5 colossal, 1-kilometer-tall towers positioned strategically in different directions around Maximus. These towering structures enclosed Maximus from various angles, creating an inescapable prison of immense proportions. This entire setup was actually Cauldrum's domain. From these towering structures, thousands of 10-meter-long arrows rained down, firing from vertical openings as they relentlessly homed in on Maximus. The onslaught was unrelenting, a barrage of death aimed squarely at the lone warrior. In the face of such overwhelming power, Maximus stood unflinching, his resolve unwavering. His defiance against these insurmountable odds was a testament to his unparalleled courage and indomitable spirit. Maximus in his Titanite form was surrounded by enemies far beyond his current strength and capabilities he could face at the moment based on common sense. And despite his perilous situation, he gave the tyrannical look of a fearless warrior as he asked in an overbearing tone, "Do you truly believe that only this much is enough for me?" Meanwhile, Khan was running away from the Saints, and thanks to Maximus being the center of attention for now, they managed to run out of the battlefield range. "Atreus, what did Maximus talk about?" asked Borat, who ran beside Khan. Atreus quickly cast a dome-like structure made of permafrost and hid their existence in the white desert, using the camouflage of the battlefield in their favor. "All right, listen to me very carefully," gasped Khan and spoke in a serious tone. "There is a plan for situations like this. Maximus being Maximus. He already made plans when circumstances arose that forced him to garner all the attention of powerful enemies which the rest of us could not face." He spoke somberly. "And whether you like it or not, all of us will have to put our lives in danger if everyone was to come out alive from such an ordeal," he forewarned. Everyone's expressions turned grim after he told them his plan. "Are you out of your mind? This is goddamn suicide," yelled Rolakin in shock. "Correct. It's like willingly leaving your head under a guillotine and hoping that it doesn't fall," spoke Conan. This is madness," said Speaky with an incredulous countenance, clearly unhappy. However, there was one individual lost in thoughts. "Although as dangerous as it seems, it is the most plausible plan we can work with based on our diminished strength as semi-saints," spoke Borat with a thoughtful expression. Then it was Khan aka Atreus who spoke. "This is the only way we can survive this, because if Maximus falls, all of us are good as dead anyway," he stated firmly. "But what if the plan fails?" asked Speaky. "You better hope that it doesn't, for all of your sakes," said Khan and started working on his plan. In actuality, this wasn't Maximus' original plan but rather the one Rathnar told Khan. The latter was only using Maximus' name to make all the other members of the hero's party comply. Boom! Amidst the relentless confrontation, a colossal explosion of energy erupted from the battlefield, as Maximus intercepted a surging, beam-like attack launched by Melisandre. The impact of their clash was nothing short of cataclysmic. Even Maximus, in his towering 200-meter-tall Titanic knight form, found himself forcefully propelled back a staggering 300 meters. The sheer power of this high vampiress, a fourth-stage saint despite her human-sized stature, had proven to be an overwhelming force. The shockwaves rippled through the battlefield, a testament to the incredible might at play in this battle of saints. "I am Maximus Tiberius Gladius, the 10th hero of nature and the one who is going to end this war against the demon god. If you want to kill me, you will have to do better than this," proclaimed Maximus. The incredible attack Maximus had just deflected came from an opponent who, by all calculations, should have been 15 times stronger than him. In the realm of logic, it was an attack that should have been lethal, capable of ending his life on the spot. However, to everyone's astonishment, it merely pushed him back. Maximus had survived an assault that even other first-stage saint-ranked heroes would have struggled to withstand, emerging from it unscathed. Rumble! The ground trembled as thousands of colossal and thorny vines erupted from the sandy terrain. Sylvana, with her formidable skills, wove these vines into existence, seeking to entwine and overpower Maximus. The battlefield itself seemed to respond to her will, transforming into a perilous arena where the very earth conspired against him. Shoot! Shoot! At the same time, A volley of thousands of black metallic arrows barraged Maximus from 5 directions. Clink, clang. These multitudes of arrows hit their target incessantly and kept barraging the Titan like a swarm of ants befelling prey. Regrettably, Maximus found himself in a dire situation where he couldn't access his Terra Domain or Thousand Hands battlefield. The former required him to attain the rank of a legitimate 5th-stage saint, while the latter demanded the use of world energy, a resource he had no access to. Thud! Maximus's haggard state was painfully evident as he resembled a porcupine, with thousands of needle-like spikes piercing his battered body. The battle had taken its toll, leaving him in a state of anguish and suffering as the formidable forces arrayed against him continued their unrelenting assault. Boom! Maximus let out a burst of mana, throwing off all the arrows from his body using his sheer aura alone. And before the next attack even came, stomp! With a hard stomp of his feet, the Titan lunged high in the air and raised his greatsword in the air. Slash! Without wasting his moment, he made a strong vertical slash attack, and his target was none other than Sylvana. Rip! Before the Dryad Summoner Saint could even move, the hero of nature cut her entire 200-meter-tall being into 2 halves. Crackle! Crackle! Maximus wielded a great sword forged from the elements of darkness and lightning, 2 of the most destructive and potent forces in the realm of reality. With a single powerful slash, he dispatched a legitimate 1st-stage saint who stood as large as himself. The sheer might of his blade left no room for defense or escape. Before the wood elemental dryad could begin the process of regeneration, Maximus swiftly took action. He released his shield from his left hand and placed 2 fingers beneath his lips, a subtle yet calculated move that hinted at a hidden strategy or power yet to be revealed. He then took a deep breath and filled his massive lungs made of earth and magma as he prepared for his devastating attack that would end the Dryad Summoner Saint. Sage Arts. Majestic Destroyer Flame. In a sudden turn of events, the hero of nature seized an opening and launched a surprise attack. Sylvana, the Dryad Summoner, was caught off guard, her usually graceful composure momentarily disrupted. Sage Arts. Majestic Destroyer Flame. A deafening roar followed the incantation, and a furious deluge of scorching, torrential flames erupted from the colossal Maximus's gaping maw. The inferno surged like a tidal wave, leaving nothing in its wake but blistering and incinerating devastation. A blood-curdling, bone-chilling scream reverberated throughout the 10-kilometer-wide battlefield. For the first time, the once silent undead saints uttered a word, though it took the form of an agonizing and terrified cry. Crackle! Crackle! Maximus's fire skill raged on, engulfing Sylvana in an unrelenting sea of flames. Her once graceful form was now a charred and crackling silhouette as the blistering inferno consumed her. The intensity of the scalding and pulverizing flames was nothing short of devastating, ranked only below the likes of Amaterasu's fire and the mythical Dragonfire. It was the kind of fire that could only be defied by those with complete fire immunity like Khan, a royal dragon with an innate affinity for fire, or the hero of fire themselves. Anything less, and their fate was sealed. The relentless blaze could reduce even the hardest of metals to molten pools in a matter of seconds, leaving no room for escape or salvation. As the flames devoured Sylvana, the battle's dynamics shifted once more, leaving the remaining adversaries to confront a newfound level of dread and uncertainty. His mastery over the fire element surpasses even yours, despite Vildred's training, Rathnar remarked. That's not surprising, considering he's the hero of nature. Khan replied. Not quite true. The hero of nature I faced in my time was only half as skilled as he is. He's on par with the likes of Romulus and those fireborn royals from the Vulcan Empire, such as Vanessa and Havi. Rathnar praised, acknowledging the unparalleled talent of the hero of nature. Listen, kid, no matter what, try to build a rapport with him, even after you leave the Beast Empire. Having him as a powerful ally might be crucial in the event you ever find yourself forced to confront that demon god. Rathnar advised without hesitation. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. Even though I'm skeptical about trusting him too much, given his persona as a righteous hero with a savior complex, I'd still prefer not to have him as an enemy. Khan explained his concerns, echoing the complexities of alliances and enmities in their perilous world. As Sylvana was swiftly reduced to cinders, her body crumbling and turning into ash in a matter of seconds, Maximus revealed a hidden card from his arsenal. With a single, devastating fire skill, he incinerated a first-stage saint, obliterating everything in its path. The tide of the battle had shifted dramatically, now pitting Maximus against 4 formidable adversaries. The challenge lay in the fact that all of them were second-stage saint-ranked or higher. Without access to world energy or his domain, the odds were heavily stacked against Maximus. While he had proven his exceptional prowess, the task of defeating these powerful foes single-handedly was an arduous one, and the outcome of the battle remained uncertain. I'm running out of mana. Using one of my trump cards while being restricted to semi-saint rank has depleted a lot of my reserves. I can hardly last for half an hour at this rate, thought Maximus to himself. As Maximus wrestled with his thoughts, his mana reserves dwindling due to the use of one of his trump cards while being confined to a semi-saint rank, he contemplated the grim reality. His capabilities were waning, and he estimated that he could hardly endure for a while. However, just as the hero of nature grappled with his predicament, an unexpected phenomenon unfolded. Swoosh! Boom! Out of nowhere, 4 enigmatic figures materialized behind the remaining saints. They released a surge of formidable auras that captured the undivided attention of those on the battlefield. In a bold and brazen move, Awakens, Speaky, Conan, and Borat intentionally revealed themselves to the saints. While these saints had been aware of their presence all along, their focus had remained steadfastly fixed on Maximus, deeming the semi-saints as non-threatening distractions. "Hey, half-naked bitch! Didn't your master tell you to catch and torture us first?" shouted Borat, his words aimed squarely at Melisandre, who hovered in the sky. "Hey you, chimera bastard! My dog looks better than your ugly face," Conan taunted with unapologetic provocation, his words intended for Chimera. "Hey, Blackie, why do you like metal so much? Do you use those rods to put it in your ass?" Speaky spoke with irreverence, targeting Cauldron, the archer. "Look at this giant bastard. How many houses did you eat this morning?" Awakens mocked, his taunts directed at Zalvik, the gargoyle assassin. One by one, the saints found their attention diverted to the members of the hero's party, drawn by the audacious and insolent remarks. The situation had taken a sudden and unexpected turn, leaving the saints momentarily disoriented and conflicted as to whom to target first. "Catch them all first," a commanding voice, as if resonating from the very fabric of the realm itself, emerged with authority. It was Marcus, who had been overseeing the spectacle from somewhere within the realm. His previous orders had been clear: capture all the members of the hero's party and force Maximus to witness as his companions were mercilessly slaughtered. Now that these allies had daringly chosen to reveal themselves, the time had come for his orders to be executed. Shing! Shing! All the 4 saints used their saint pressure, and like plucking a bud from the plant, they pulled the members of the hero's party towards them respectively. "Damn it!" cursed Awakens as his bones shook and his mind was bombarded with the intense killing intent of a saint as Zalvik pulled the basilisk-kin close to him. His life now literally hung in the grasp of the second-stage saint who could kill the mage with just a single thought. Oh damn! The same thing happened with others, all of whom now faced the same dangers as their fates rested in the hands of their captors. "Let them go!" bellowed Maximus, his ear-deafening voice sending tremors in the desert. And just like before, Marcus spoke again from places unknown. "Ha ha ha ha! Look at you, already faltering at the first sight of your allies in danger. Do you think I will end it so swiftly?" asked the 7th hero of nature. "There's no swift death in my book. I will not only have them killed, but also turn them into my undeads and then make them fight you. I want to see the look of despair and helplessness as your own subordinates take your life," proclaimed the necromancer hero. Maximus revealed an incongruous expression due to this predicament. This was not going according to his previous command at all. What's happening right now? This was not the strategy one told him. Wait, where is he? He thought. But right then, a familiar voice echoed in his mind. Use the strategy 37. Now. Maximus' eyes were shocked, but without wasting another second, he suddenly raised his aura. Sizzle. Sizzle. Suddenly, both of his glowing white eyes sizzled as if an enormous amount of energy was being charged inside. And before any of the saints could react, shoot! A massive laser beam made of light element shot forward from his eyes, attacking and vaporizing everything that he looked at. Boom! Rumble! Maximus, in his massive titan form, was literally shooting lasers out of his eyes like Superman. Bang! All the saints had to summon and use their various defensive skills to protect themselves, such as barrier and magic formations. Being saints, this was the only form of protection for them to avoid getting critically injured by a chosen hero like Maximus, even if he was reduced to only a semi-saint. Meanwhile, all of their attention was focused on the hero of nature to defend themselves as they caged his subordinates as their prisoners. And right when all the captors were pulled closer as the saints defended themselves from Maximus' laser eyes, swoosh! In the blink of a moment, 4 blue figures jumped off from the bodies of these captured semi-saint. Yippee-ki-yay, motherf asterisk curs. Before any of the saints could even register this sudden ambush by 4 identical figures of a blue Fenrirborn. Slash! At the exact moment on all 4 fronts, Khan as Atrus used the dimensional cut skill and slashed apart all of their necks at the exact time regardless of where they stood on the battlefield, killing them instantly. No! A harrowing voice resounded in the desert realm as Marcus's figure was revealed 5 kilometers away above a sand dune. Crumble! The yellow barrier he had around him shattered like glass and his figure fell on the dune. Blurg! The 6th stage saint coughed up blood as he suffered an immensely painful and agonizing backlash. And that's how, ladies and gentlemen, spoke Atrus on all 4 ends in unison as he declared, "You break the necromancer divine ability." In a remarkable turn of events, Khan had orchestrated a series of calculated moves that culminated in the takedown of all the Saint Guardians at the very last moment, thanks to a well-executed surprise attack. However, this wasn't a matter of sheer luck. Every move had been meticulously planned. There was a specific reason why Marcus had summoned only the 5 saints and had refrained from summoning any other undead or skeletal monsters, as a standard necromancer might. The key lay in the fact that the higher ranked the undead, the more and denser energy they required. By summoning the saints, Marcus had already taxed his reserves to the limit, leaving him with minimal energy to spare for additional creatures. Rathnar, the Conqueror, was the expert on dealing with a necromancer hero, and he had shared a crucial piece of knowledge with Khan when he outlined the strategy. This insight revolved around the first significant weakness of the necromancy divine ability. The crux of the matter was that if a necromancer hero summoned creatures or undead entities comparable to High Lords, or individuals akin to Grandmasters or Semi-Saints, the ability was highly manageable. In such cases, all that was required was a sufficient reserve of mana, something a 6th stage saint like Marcus had in abundance. With an ample supply of mana, the necromancer hero could conjure millions of undead entities to overwhelm and eliminate the hero's party. However, the dynamic shifted when it came to beings of legendary or mythical stature, such as saints. These entities, when summoned as undeads, lacked the possession of their own world energy. This fundamental distinction marked the line between a proper living saint and an undead saint in Vantria's lore. Beings of such high caliber, when summoned as undeads, depended entirely on an external source for their world energy to access their saintly skills and abilities. The direct and immediate source of this energy was, unsurprisingly, the caster, which, in this context, was the necromancer hero. This vulnerability presented a crucial opening in any battle against a necromancer hero, as it offered a means to disrupt their control and the abilities of the summoned undeads, creating a critical weakness that could be exploited. After summoning them, Marcus Brutus was the sole source of the Guardian's strength, and without his own world energy, they couldn't use a single skill. This was also the main reason why Marcus Brutus hadn't actually fought the battle by himself from the very beginning after he summoned the Saint Guardians and used a protection barrier to defend himself as he disappeared into nothingness in front of their eyes. This whole time, as the Saint Guardians fought Maximus, it was he who provided them world energy through their innate link between the necromancer and summons. This was also the reason why he chose to hide, since he was in a vulnerable state due to his mistake of summoning all of them at the same time. And then, Rathnar revealed the second biggest flaw that he himself found and used back when he fought a chosen hero with necromancer divine ability when he was alive. Once you kill all the summoned creatures and saints used by a necromancer hero, the divine ability somehow shuts down and goes into a reset mode. However, it is nearly impossible to execute because the numbers are often too high, and killing them all at once is without a second of delay is something unachievable by many. This was what Rathnar told Khan from the memories. And afterward, he told Khan how to use his own skills to achieve that feat when he planned to neutralize the necromancer divine ability. Khan, following his orders, used his cosmic replicas that appeared as normal doppelgangers and hid in the shadows of the other heroes' party members when they made the plan under that icy dome as they hid away from the battlefield. But the biggest advantage they had here was provided to them by none other than Marcus Brutus himself. Due to his own arrogance and the fact that Maximus had vexed him, he summoned his strongest summons at that moment, aka the other guardians who were saints. This approach forced him to go into hiding and made him vulnerable, opening the door for Khan to utilize the second weakness of the divine ability. Again, the goddess of luck had favored Khan, who had the cosmic replica skill at this point, and all of these copies were just exactly him in different bodies, completely interlinked and sharing the same consciousness. When Khan told his plan to others, they all called it a suicide plan, and rightfully so. Since Marcus had ordered his summons to capture and torture the heroes' party members, it was evident that if they presented themselves to the Guardians, the first thing they would do was to capture them. And after Maximus killed Sylvana again on his own, it left only 4 Guardians that they needed to target. Hence, it was Borat, Conan, Speaky, and Rolakin who intentionally revealed themselves as Khan hid in their shadows, while erasing his entire existence using the cosmic replicas. One could say that Khan achieving the third enlightenment in the space law was a godsend achievement that helped him in this situation, because even a 6th-stage saint like Marcus Brutus failed to sense his replicas since they used the cosmic ether and not mana or world energy like normal doppelgangers. And finally, as the members were captured, it was Khan who executed them all at close range using dimensional cut with absolutely perfect timing with unfathomable precision. To Marcus Brutus, the 7th hero of nature, Maximus was the biggest threat, so he had neglected Khan completely, and that slight ignorance now caused the last guardian to cough up an ample amount of blood, as his necromancer divine ability was temporarily rendered useless. Don't worry, he won't be able to use that divine ability for at least 24 hours. Although this ability protects him from suffering many types of backlashes and consequences on his own body, what we targeted here was not the ability itself but his core. Revealed Khan. So by using his own world energy that he supplied to his saint summons, we damaged his core by cutting off the connection abruptly when he was in a vulnerable state. Asked Khan. Correct. And no matter how good and overpowered a divine ability is, it cannot subvert the direct damage to the user's core. That is why killing all the summons at the exact same moment was important. His core could simply not handle such a shock that came from all the links he had with the summoned entities. That is exactly how I defeated a necromancer hero in my time. Declared Rathnar proudly. Wait, I have to ask. How did you, or what kind of skills did you use back then during your battle? Questioned Khan curiously, since he had no idea how Rathnar became the man he was and what kind of powers he possessed. To this day, Khan only knew that the former peak saint of Vantria was a swordsman by class, but what element he used and what kind of skill he had, Khan had no idea. And to his query, Rathnar replied calmly, I don't remember. Did you forget that those memories are sealed with the other half of my soul? Responded Rathnar satirically. Khan rolled his eyes in annoyance and now focused on the injured hero. Swoosh! His cosmic replicas disappeared, and now he jumped down and joined the others. Maximus too had deactivated Izanami's champion divine ability and regrouped with them as they marched towards Marcus Brutus, who was rendered helpless since the damage to his core had temporarily cut off his access to world energy as his saint powers. Atrus, we know you can use doppelgangers, but what kind of invisible skill that was? The one you used to cut their heads off? Asked Speaky, the fire summoner peacockkin. To him, Atreus replied sternly. I can tell you, but then I'll have to kill you. Gulp. Speaky's countenance turned horrified, remembering the times when Atreus literally cooked his arms and legs and ate them in front of him. Forget that I asked. In just a few minutes, they covered the 5 kilometers gap between themselves and Brutus. Whoosh, whoosh. And unlike the previous situation, it was the 7th hero of nature who was surrounded by his enemies from all sides. Any last words? Asked Maximus as the mages from the party cast barriers and formations, binding Marcus in inescapable magical chains while the melee class activated their offensive skills to kill him the moment he made any suspicious moves. How did you know? That killing them all at once will neutralize my divine ability. Instead of responding to Maximus, Brutus looked at Atreus with a wrathful countenance and asked with a pissed-off expression, I don't know. Maybe a ghost of some powerful venerable immortal whispered it in my ears, replied Khan as he shrugged off his arms casually. This was something even Maximus was curious about but did not put too much importance on it since they were now one step closer to their main goal. This ends now. Make your final prayers if you believe in any god, declared Maximus as he put his greatsword on Brutus' neck. Ha! Looks like you still haven't realized. This isn't just some random place, said the last guardian, and the very following moment, boom! A massive surge of black aura erupted, and all the magical formations and chains on his body shattered like glass as the hero's party members were thrown off far away in different directions. In the sky, the 2 moons suddenly turned black like an eclipse as 2 massive red formations appeared on their surface. This place is hell. More accurately, declared the necromancer hero with pride and a sinister voice. This is my hell. Marcus Brutus possessed the power to manipulate reality using the ominous eyes that hung in the sky, granting him his freedom from captivity and overturning the situation. Looks like I need to teach you all your place. He spoke as his scepter glowed yellow and shot a blinding white beam in the sky, towards the eyes like moons. Crackle. Rumble. Under his control, the once arid desert was transformed into a battlefield crafted from magma and stone, with rivers of molten lava coursing through it. The very nature of gravity felt altered, making the battlefield a surreal and treacherous landscape. Thousands of lightning bolts rained down from the sky, heralding the manifestation of Marcus's will in this altered reality. This is my hell. As his power took hold and the world around them transformed, the truth of his words became evident. And now, all those present comprehended the full extent of his dominion over the realm and the profound danger that loomed over them. The battle had entered a new and more nightmarish phase, where reality itself was a malleable canvas for the necromancer hero's grim intentions. However, everything about this world was unnatural in many senses. Boom! But then, unexpectedly, a resounding boom echoed through the realm. In an astonishing turn of events, all the members of the hero's party felt as if the restrictions on their bodies were lifting. They experienced a profound transformation, and in an instant, they reverted to their former state as saints. What's this? Isn't God's domain supposed to keep us limited to semi-saints? Borat questioned, his expression one of perplexity. No, we are no longer in God's domain. We're in his domain, Atreus remarked, having astutely analyzed the unique signature of mana and world energy that surrounded them. I understand what his second divine ability is, Atreus revealed, shedding light on the nature of the necromancer hero's extraordinary power. It's called the Visionary's reality, he proclaimed with a conflicted countenance. What's this? I never faced any hero with this type of divine ability. As a matter of fact, it's the first time I've heard about it, said Rathnar. Well, I remember it because of my eidetic memory. This is one of the most OP but also one of the hardest to achieve divine ability, just like my dimensional law. The reason I didn't choose it back then is because even I could tell that one would need centuries to perfect and use this divine ability, explained Khan. As far as I remember, this was one of those divine abilities that were chosen only once among all the summoned heroes till this day when the god of darkness presented them to me. Now I can finally see that it was Marcus Brutus who chose it 700 years ago. He iterated with a complicated expression. Kid, are we in trouble? Asked Rathnar. Very much so, because this ability allows the user's imagination, or let's call it his vision, to become reality. It's not like my lucid reality where all of it is just an illusion. Rather, the world itself bends to the user's will and everything will turn into whatever he was. He can turn mountains into rivers or icebergs into lava. He can change anything he wants. Clarified Khan. What? If this type of divine ability exists, why did no other heroes choose it? This can even rival a peak saint if the hero ever became a 9th stage saint. Rathnar gave his opinion. That's the main problem. Back then, one of the drawbacks I noticed while reading the skill description was that one must be able to influence the world around them first to unlock it. Now I understand that it meant unlocking your own domain, which can happen only if you become a 5th stage saint at least. And also, it would take mastering certain types of magic arts to reinforce it. The information about those arts was non-existent in those details. Even to me, it was like throwing a rock in an endless pit where you didn't know if you will ever be able to use this divine ability at all. But this guy, Marcus Brutus, he made it possible. Declared Khan. Despite the fact that the 7th hero of nature, Marcus Brutus, stood as an enemy and a grave threat to his life, Khan couldn't help but feel a trace of respect and admiration for this formidable adversary. Having experienced the unlocking of his own dimensional law divine ability through a stroke of sheer luck, Khan understood the magnitude of the risks Marcus Brutus had undertaken. The necromancer hero's unwavering determination and the extent of his power were impossible to ignore, even in the face of their deadly conflict. Wait, this hero is indeed a formidable and experienced tactician, said Rathnar. What do you mean? Queried Khan. Think about it. He chose the necromancy divine ability to raise his rank, to amplify his firepower through his undead creations, and, most crucially, to ensure that he would emerge from any battle alive, as his opponents would typically remain unaware of the only weakness of this divine ability. And after becoming a 5th stage saint, he unlocked and mastered the Visionary's reality divine ability as well. Regardless of the time it took him to perfect his 2nd divine ability and the world he created within his domain, the combination of these two divine abilities would render him both unkillable and unbeatable. It was undoubtedly a perilous and exceedingly challenging combination to achieve, but this hero managed to make it possible. At the zenith of his strength, I firmly believe that this individual would possess the power to vanquish the demon god. Even I, Rathnar Whitlock, have to acknowledge his farsightedness. Rathnar explained and praised, his admiration for the necromancer hero's strategic brilliance evident in his words. What Rathnar expressed was an undeniable truth. Marcus Brutus was a summoned hero, much like Khan, and he possessed a unique set of abilities and potential. Yet, fate had woven its intricate and mysterious tapestry. The one hero who held the potential to vanquish the demon god had been inexplicably confined within God's domain ever since he entered the conclave of heroes nearly 700 years ago. The reasons behind this enigmatic imprisonment remained shrouded in uncertainty, but now, they found themselves on the brink of a harrowing battle against the very person. Don't be in such a hurry to praise, old man. There are also reasons why I didn't choose this divine ability. Interjected Khan. Oh really, what are those then? Asked the Peak Saint with genuine curiosity. There are mainly 2 drawbacks that could be used to overcome this divine ability. One of the drawbacks of using Visionary's reality is that although you can turn the world into whatever you want, you're also subjected to the laws of reality that your imagination manifested. And the second is that this world that you created will defy and break apart all the restrictions and laws placed by the outside world. That's the reason why the suppression of semi-saint rank placed by Babylon no longer works on us. And now Maximus, Borat are also capable of using our domains in this different reality. So even if it's the world Marcus Brutus created, he has lost his advantage of being a 6th stage saint over us. Spoke Khan with a grin. If his necromancy divine ability was still active and he could summon all the saint guardians in this world of his creation, it would have been extremely hard for us to survive. But now that we have disabled it for an entire day, we still have a chance to defeat him. It's now 6 saints versus 1 guardian, and 3 of us are 5th stage saints and above. You could say that his desperation after losing his access to world energy because of the damage to his core and us forcing him to use his second divine ability has helped us instead. Now, we no longer have to fear him. Instead, he should fear us," declared Khan as he too looked forward to ending this battle once and for all. Their entire conversation took place within 10 seconds in the real world as Marcus Brutus had finally completed establishing his world. Khan, in his Atrus persona, quickly contacted Maximus. "I have a plan, but it will need both of us to risk our lives. And also, you won't be able to protect anyone but yourself." He spoke in the hero of nature's mind. Khan was planning to use both the weaknesses of the Visionary's reality divine ability. However, even at the present moment, he needed Maximus' help unless he wanted to reveal his secrets such as dimensional domain, his cosmic replicas, or the variety of his skills that should be impossible to perform given his identity as an Ice Elemental Brawler class warrior. "Truce, I have to ask you something important before we start this fight." However, in response, Maximus queried in a grim voice as he continued his question, "What the hell is your real identity?"